processing 2,000 Afrikaners for resettlement by the end of the month and an additional 4,000 by the end of November, but that the process was unfolding more slowly, including due to Afrikaners changing their minds about relocating. President Trump issued executive orders after taking office, suspending all refugee admissions while prioritizing Afrikaners over alleged human rights concerns.
Recapping the top story, National Police Commissioner General Fani Masemola says it's concerning that young children are being used as runners for drug peddling in Westbury, south of Johannesburg and elsewhere in the country. Masemola briefed the media after engaging with the Gauteng Provincial Police Management last night. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
It's a very good morning to you in your SAFM Sports headlines. Plenty of action with regards to Marizanne Cup, the Star, as the Proteas women, they head into this World Cup with the potential semi-final spot. And in the UEFA Champions League, it is Arsenal who dominated, and that's with their match doing some incredible goal scoring. 4-0 the scoreline there and that was at Atletico Madrid. We'll bring you details just before 6:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
A very good morning. Truck crash on the way to Empangeni and Richards Bay. It's on the N2 running north, just before you get to the Amatukulu exit. Quite a big scene. There will be some delays there. Also, just watch for a stationary vehicle heading out of Durban on the N3 between Spine Road Pavilion and the Paradise Valley interchange, stuck in amongst the road construction works there. Joburg off to a good start this morning, so that's a good idea for me to remind you. This Sunday, it's Ride Joburg event. Okay, it's the cyclists on the road this weekend. This Sunday, major closures all over the city of Joburg. ridejoburg.co.za for the latest details. If you're driving Sunday, be well worth checking that out. Cape Town, Baden-Powell Drive open and free-flowing this morning. No reports of any protesting at Khayelitsha. And just watch for a crash coming south on the R300 between Van Riebeeck Road and Stellenbosch Arterial. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
The clock has just struck 8 minutes after 6 on this Wednesday, the 22nd of October 2025, live and direct from Radio Park Building here at SABC HQ in Auckland Park in Johannesburg to wherever you're hearing us from this morning, in every city, every town, dorpie, in every township, every kasi, village and hamlet, from the highways to the byways, from the hinterland to the heartland. Good morning to you and welcome to the Wednesday edition of The Morning Brief here on SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. Here's some of what we will tell you over the next 3 hours. He neither consulted nor briefed the president prior to giving his controversial December 31st directive to disband the political killings task team, nor has he ever met Vusumuzi Ket Matlala. And as for Brown Mokhotsi, he knows him distantly, he tells us, and professionally, he says. That about sums up some of the key highlights from sidelined and on special leave Police Minister Senzo Mkunu's grilling by MPs in Parliament's ad hoc committee on criminality, political interference and corruption in the police. Mkunu has also denied any involvement in the controversial removal of the 121 political assassination case dockets from the investigative team to Pretoria, the police's headquarters. So we will sum it up all together at the top of 7 a.m. with SABC News reporter Kenny Mapanga, who's watching developments really around both legs of these investigations, also watching what's happening at the Madlanga Commission, where a witness who's been testifying in camera, and by that we don't mean in front of the camera, but we mean, behind the scenes, behind closed doors, only hearing the witness's voice. Kenny Mapanga has been tracking both stories, and she will talk to us at the top of 7 a.m. and give us a nice roundup of those developments. A new kind of census is out A new kind of census is out, and Johannesburg appears to be rapidly losing a key demographic. Let's call it an intriguing, interesting demographic: millionaires. While Johannesburg still boasts the highest number of millionaires in Africa, not dollars eventually. A new kind of census is out, and Joburg appears to be rapidly losing a key demographic, millionaires, while Johannesburg still boasts the highest number of dollar millionaires in Africa. That's 11,700 in total, compared to Cape Town's 8,500. Its millionaire population, though, has declined by about 35% over the past decade, so from 2015 to 2025. That's according to the latest Africa Wealth Report 2025, compiled by Henley and Partners and New World Wealth. And it seems Johannesburg's loss is Cape Town's and the Cape Winelands' gain. Cape Town is emerging as a new wealth hub with more centimillionaires, and that is people worth more than 100 million US dollars. So we are told that Cape Town has 35 of them versus Joburg's 24, and billionaires as well. Cape Town, that's dollar billionaires. We're told Cape Town has 3 and Joburg has 2. And this really sets the city, that is Cape Town, on course to overtake Joburg as the wealthiest South African city by 2030, we are told. So what's driving these trends, and why do they matter to us? What do they tell us about the lifestyle and the standard of living, service delivery, access to amenities and the likes? Because these are people whose money allows them to choose to live anywhere in the country where they want to live. But, the choices they make, what informs those choices is really what we'll try and get behind. We'll be talking to Warren Ingram, who is co-founder of Galileo Capital, and that conversation coming up at about 7:20, just to unpack it all, why it all matters. Is it just fascinating facts, or is there something to be gleaned from the choices that these super wealthy people are making about where they choose to live? It's being called a staggering blowout. The city of Tshwane has spent a jaw-dropping 777 million rand. 777 million rand on water tankers in just 1 year. That is said to be about 457 million rand over budget, and nearly 672 million rand more than the year before spent on water tankers. The revelation has been uncovered by a News 24 investigation, and it has sparked outrage, as you can imagine, and questions about who benefited and whether residents in water-scarce communities actually saw any relief and any reprieve from all of this tankering of water. This includes, we're told, about 40 contractors that were contracted for the ferrying around of water to water-scarce communities, these being informal and formal communities. Part of the explanation from the city of Tshwane, we are told, includes them saying that they needed to make arrangements for, remember that long maintenance program that Rand Water undertook. They're saying, well, we needed to factor that in. There were critical areas such as hospitals that entirely depended on water tankering, and therefore we needed to take care of that. But still, you're talking almost R1 billion, 777 million rand on water tankering in just 1 year, 457 million rand over budget. So, that really is quite significant. At about 7:45 this morning, I'll be in conversation with Bongani Ramunja, who is leader of the Soil of Africa civic movement, unpacking it all and reacting to that. Of course, the full team is ready, able and willing to serve up your updates throughout the morning. And Musa at the news desk, Rob Byrne on your traffic, Zaikan watching all things sport, Melissa Puta with the morning brief in brief, and of course, as always, Ndauleng Lechela with insights into the economy, business and market updates, and Sipho Mandula coming through nicely at about 7:20 with the Africa update. Let's talk, let's unpack all of these issues. I'm on 086 000 2032. You can also reach me on 0614 104 107. Let's get the Wednesday edition of the morning brief underway.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, unfair blacklisting, or an uncontested divorce, Clientele Legal offers professional legal services to all South Africans. Our plans are affordable, and you receive up to 745,000 Rand worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our nationwide legal teams are standing by to support you 24 hours a day. Plus, all plans include a 5,000 Rand bail benefit. Join today. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Don't miss your chance to shape the future. The Limpopo Investment Conference 2025. Limpopo Rising, Africa's new investment frontier. Your gateway to unparalleled opportunities from October 30 and 31st in Polokwane. Seize the groundbreaking prospects in mining, agriculture, tourism, and green energy. Connect with global visionaries and investors driving Africa's economic boom. Limpopo's wealth is waiting. Be part of the rise. Join the conversation on lic.lcxonline.co.za. Invest in Limpopo. Invest in success.
Introducing South Africa's most affordable way to get hearing aids. At Specsavers Audiology, you can now get a pair of hearing aids from as little as 599 Rand per month. Hearing clearly shouldn't be a luxury. Enjoy life's moments from 599 Rand per month. Test your hearing today and join the conversation with Specsavers Audiology. T's and C's apply.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
All right, let's get it started with Melissa Puta, who's got the morning brief in brief. Good morning to you, Melissa. Let's start with navigation and news coming out of the aviation sector. Tell me about ATNS and them being under fire for failing to submit a critical paperwork to the South African Civil Aviation Authority.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. Air Traffic Navigation Services in South Africa is under fire for failing to submit critical revalidation paperwork to the South African Civil Aviation Authority, resulting in the suspension of over 200 instrument flight procedures at multiple airports. This affects flight operations at airports like the Kruger in Mpumalanga, Gqeberha, Polokwane, and others, forcing pilots to rely on visual landings, which is unsafe during poor weather. Airlines, particularly Airlink, have suffered financially and operationally, with thousands of passengers affected and millions lost. The Airlines Association of Southern Africa has warned of serious economic and tourism consequences, while Transport Minister Barbara Creecy attributes the crisis to years of mismanagement and neglect within the ATNS.
So it's that phenomenon that's been delaying flights, particularly in some of the smaller airports, especially in the Eastern Cape. I remember talking to AXA CEO Mpumi Mpofu about it a couple of months ago. Tell me about this. I didn't know, Melissa, that private institutions, privately owned higher education institutions, are not necessarily universities, even those that would describe themselves as universities. Only now do they have that official tag.
Yes, in a landmark move, South Africa's Department of Higher Education and Training has approved a new policy allowing private higher education institutions to be officially recognized as universities for the first time. Published last week, Friday, the policy introduces 3 institutional categories: higher education colleges, university colleges, and universities, applying equally to public and private institutions. It aims to promote fairness, quality, and inclusivity in the sector. The change addresses a long-standing inequality that barred private institutions from using the title university despite meeting high academic standards. Now making up 22% of the tertiary market, private institutions will undergo a strict approval process overseen by the Department of Higher Education and Training and the Council of Higher Education to ensure quality, governance, and research standards. The policy also promotes collaboration between public and private institutions through shared research and academic projects. reflecting the government's recognition of private education's role within the national development. So this was quite an interesting development.
Yeah, and I see that the wheels of justice are finally grinding, albeit slowly, in the matter of the murdered daughter of the EFF Deputy President Godrich Gadi, Hilary Gadi, and that's happening out in the Mpumalanga Provincial Division of the High Court.
Yes, so in the Hilary Gadi murder trial at the Mpumalanga High Court yesterday, the accused Shabirwa Rasi Nkuna dismissed his legal aid lawyer, Advocate Maisela Kekana, citing a conflict of interest and loss of trust. Nkuna also requested a new Sepedi interpreter, claiming he did not understand the current one. The judge has postponed the case to allow time to assign a new lawyer and interpreter. EFF leaders condemned the delays as tactics to stall justice, with supporters chanting outside the court yesterday. Hilary Gadi was murdered in 2022 after disappearing from her home, and her body was found weeks later. So it is quite a slow progress in this case, but we will watch closely to see how this proceeds.
All right, Melissa, thank you for that. That's Melissa Puta there with the morning brief in brief.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
On the weather front, two advisories. The first one is for a heat wave with persistently high temperatures expected over the Richtersveld local municipality in the Northern Cape and Matsikama local municipality in the Western Cape until today. And then you have very hot and uncomfortable conditions expected over the West Coast district in the Western Cape and the Kamisberg local municipality of the Northern Cape until today. The rest of your weather looks like this. Cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers in Pretoria with a minimum of 12 and a maximum of 20. Johannesburg, cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 14 to 20. Exact same conditions in Vereeniging with a minimum of 9 and a maximum of 24. Mbombela, cloudy with morning drizzle, 12 to 20. Polokwane, cloudy, 10 to 21. Mahikeng, cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, becoming partly cloudy in the late afternoon, 14 to 25. Bloemfontein will be partly cloudy, becoming fine by the late afternoon, 11 to 25. Kimberley, partly cloudy, becoming fine by the late afternoon, 13 to 27. Uppington, partly cloudy, becoming fine by the late afternoon, 18 to 31. Cape Town will be partly cloudy in the morning, otherwise it will be fine, 17 to 30. George will be partly cloudy, becoming fine by the afternoon, 11 to 23. Gqeberha, fine, 11 to 23. East London, fine, 13 to 24. Durban, fine, 15 to 22. Richards Bay will be partly cloudy, becoming fine by the late afternoon with a minimum of 13 and a maximum of 24. And lastly, Pietermaritzburg will have morning fog patches, otherwise partly cloudy, becoming fine by the evening, 8 to 23.
Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
It's coming up to 24 minutes after 6. Sanai Takaichi has made history as Japan's first female prime minister after securing a decisive victory in parliament. The 64-year-old conservative leader of the ruling Liberal Democratic Party assumes office amid domestic economic struggles, strained international relations, and deep public skepticism. So let's speak to Professor David Munyai, who's the director of the Center for Africa-China Studies at the University of Johannesburg. Good morning to you, Prof, and thank you for your time as always. Let's set the context.
Good morning.
Set the context for us. The elections that happened a couple of months ago, the sea change that we saw in Japanese politics, how did it all come into a confluence leading to the rise of Sanai Takaichi?
I think it has been a turbulent moment within the party, faced with a lot of issues, mainly allegations of corruption among senior members, a context in which an economy that appears not to be doing well, and the uneasiness in the country and the region, and therefore a call for a decisive leader. So she comes in at a moment in which Japan is looking back to a history where it had stronger leaders to revive the economy, bring stability, and look at a number of key issues that appear to have faced Japan. The constitution, the need to reform the constitution. These are some of the issues that led her to win within her party.
So she's quite interesting, isn't she? I mean, she's an admirer, we're told, of the former British Prime Minister, Margaret Thatcher. In fact, some call her Japan's Iron Lady. But also she's an admirer of Shinzo Abe. Could we be seeing the rise of Abenomics once again?
More likely, I think it's a historic moment, I think, for women in Japan, in Asia, and the world, I must say. She's joining a number of few women, one in Italy, Namibia, Tanzania, and few other heading international organizations. But what makes us stand alone is that, unlike other female leaders we have in the world, she's commanding the fourth largest economy. And therefore, I think she will have a powerful voice, very conservative, as you have put it, but campaigning, I think she brought a much more stronger defense posture as well as China, but she's going to be more pragmatic given the fact that Japan does not have that power to get its way.
Someone listening to this, Prof, may say, hang on, weren't you guys talking about a new prime minister in Japan just a couple of months ago, Shigeru Ishiba? What has happened? Please explain to us why Japan is prone to these constant changes at the highest levels of government in the prime minister's position.
The Japanese politics is quite different from ours and so many other parts of the world. Firstly, I think it is to do with the parties that there's no one party that has enough votes, both in parliament, both houses, as well as within the different parties. So there's this constant change of leadership. At times on issues that we normally don't look at. If a leader, there are allegations, and if there are no long commissions and shows around leaders not doing well. I mean, leaders they just resign on their own, or they're pushed out. So they've had a series of leaders almost on a yearly basis.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. I've got to thank you for your time as always. Professor David Munyai is the director of the Center for Africa-China Studies at the University of Johannesburg.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
It's a very good morning to you. Let's kick off with an empowering women's story on the sporting front. All-rounder Marizanne Kapp starred with the bat and the ball for the Proteas women as she played a key role in their fifth win of the ICC Women's Cricket World Cup over Pakistan. SA women crushed their opponents by 150 runs via the Duckworth-Lewis Stern method in Colombo.
I think it was a very good performance with the bat. I feel like the way Wolf and Tsuneki set it up for us to come in and just lay it out. A bit disappointed that we couldn't get the 50 overs in. But like I said, everyone's had a good hit out now. Most batters have confidence. The bowlers have been bowling well. Everything seems like it's coming together.
The Proteas women will next take on Australia. That's on Saturday. Let's go to Proteas batting coach Ashwell Prince says patience is everything on the Rawalpindi surface. He explained that once a batter is set, runs do come, but for newcomers at the crease, the conditions are unforgiving. South Africa ended day 2 of the second test on 185 for 4, still 148 behind Pakistan's 333 all out. Now a 115-run stand between Tristan Stubbs and Tony De Zorzi kept the visitors in the contest before 2 late wickets, including Dewald Brevis for a duck, pegged them back.
The batting conditions in both test matches they're not unplayable, but they are challenging. And we've seen on both teams that if you apply yourself well, if you find rhythm in your batting, you can score. But we've also seen with both teams that when new batsmen come to the crease, it's tough to start. So if you're facing a bowling attack that's on point, meaning they're quite accurate, when new batsmen are coming to the crease, it can be really difficult for the batters.
Play will resume today. That's day 3 of the second test at around 7 a.m. and we'll keep you updated right here on the morning brief. And finally, some UEFA Champions League results coming in. Barcelona ruthless, smashing Olympiacos 6-1. Newcastle rolled past Benfica 3-0 at St James Park. PSV also hit 6, beating Napoli 6-2, and Paris Saint-Germain stunned Leverkusen with a commanding 7-2 win. Elsewhere, Inter cruised past Union Saint-Gilloise 4-0, Dortmund overcame Copenhagen 4-2, and Arsenal, they humbled Atletico Madrid 4-0 at the Emirates. Manchester City kept it clean and clinical, beating Villarreal 2-0. That's your sport. We'll kick back with more. Top of the hour, I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, EFF leader Julius Malema has questioned Police Minister Senzo Mchunu for soliciting an affidavit from attempted murder accused Vusikat Matlala. Mchunu, who was placed on special leave, appeared before Parliament's ad hoc committee looking into allegations of criminal infiltration, corruption and political interference in the criminal justice system. A community member who does not want to be identified for fear of victimization has told SABC News that drug lords are using young boys to attack each other in the fight for territory in Westbury, Johannesburg. This after 2 teenagers were shot dead and 5 others wounded in what police suspect to be gang violence related to the incident. And 3 independent United Nations human rights experts have condemned what they frame as interventions in Venezuela by the United States, further accusing Washington of violating that country's sovereignty and the UN Charter. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. We start southern parts of Joburg on the very busy N12. This is coming in from Protea Glen into Lenasia. A crash just before the Golden Highway exit at Eldos. Very heavy backlog pushing all the way back through to that Lenasia sort of on-ramp, if you like. So if you're out of Protea Glen, you might want to reroute through Soweto from Lenasia. You might want to think about a reroute out through Kibla Park and Aikenoff to avoid the N12. It is very heavy queues again this morning from Benoni through Boksburg on the N12. The last couple of weeks, that's just been really busy. N17 from Brakpan through to Boksburg, that's slow as well as you get caught up in the roadworks. And the N1 South got a little bit of an unusual queue this morning. Looks like something going on just around Samrand Road. So coming through from Bruckfontein, that is pretty heavy. The first of today's breakdowns at Cliffdale. Stationary truck stuck there. It's already pushing a queue back towards the Keir Ridge area on your way to Pietermaritzburg. Very slow. Cape Town, nothing reported in terms of any obstructions. Yes, there is. I'm just getting this in. It's a broken down vehicle now. So N2 inbound at the R300. A broken down vehicle on the right side of the highway. That's a queue almost back as far as Baden-Powell Drive today. The M1 inbound from Plattekloof Hill down to Sable Road is pretty heavy. And Baden-Powell open. No protesting at Khayelitsha. The sand is fairly manageable. You'll be able to get through at this stage through Monwa BC as well. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The business update on SAFM.
Let's turn to Ndauling Lichela for the first update of the morning. Ndauling, here's a sector we hardly ever cover. Big film studios and the movements that happen around that. Tell me about Warner Bros. And their potential takeover bids.
So Warner Bros. Discovery has drawn fresh takeover interest from major media players, including Netflix and Comcast. Now, this isn't the first potential bid, as Warner rejected an offer from Paramount earlier this year, saying it undervalued the company. Now, the owner of HBO Max and CNN is already planning to split its studio and cable operations, like its satellite TV business next year, to separate its streaming and legacy businesses. And the board is weighing whether to proceed with that split, sell the company outright, or strike separate deals for its Warner Bros. Or Discovery Global units. Now, a sale would give the buyer a top studio and streaming platform, but also $35 billion in debt. Analysts say Paramount remains the likeliest buyer, though Netflix could make a move after the split. Now, Skydance's renewed interest underscored David Ellison's push to expand his family's media empire following the Paramount takeover.
You mentioned Netflix there. What's happening with them in Brazil?
Mm-hmm. So they've been hit by a Brazilian tax expense. While earnings, yes, were solid, they weren't, or rather they missed analyst expectations on the back of that charge. It was a 10% tax on payments made by Brazilian entities to overseas operations, which reduced profit for the period and trimmed its full-year margin forecast. Excluding that one-off tax impact, executives said Netflix would have exceeded its operating income target. Now, revenue rose 17% to $11.5 billion, driven by continued membership growth, price increases, and record ad sales. The company reported its best quarter for advertising to date and expects ad revenue to more than double this year. It's forecast another 17% revenue increase in the fourth quarter, supported by a strong content lineup that includes new seasons of Stranger Things and The Diplomat. Looking ahead, Netflix maintained its full-year revenue guidance of about $45.1 billion and now expects a 29% operating margin, down slightly from the earlier 30% projection.
All right, Ndauling, recap for us market activity from yesterday and also set the tone for us for this morning.
So starting in Wall Street, markets closing mostly in the green overnight. The only indice in the red was the Nasdaq, shedding 0.15%. This as Netflix mixed the earnings expectations in Q3. Meanwhile, back at home, the JSE took a knock, heavy profit taking place with the all share down 2% on the back of a 7% decline in resources. This as the metals rally paused. The rand also under pressure this morning, losing some strength. It's at 17.40 to the greenback. Other commodities like oil also, faring well this morning. It's up 1.6% and trading just over $62 per barrel. Lastly, in Asia, US-China deal hopes has boosted markets, but gains are capped with markets on that front mixed.
All right, Dowling, thank you. We'll talk to you in the second hour, just after 7:30.
Africa Update on SAFM.
Let's go straight to Sipho Mantula. Raz, good morning. Let's start in Antananarivo. The new leader there, Michael Randrianirina, new in the sense that coming through the coup that occurred, but quickly finding out that the Gen Zs won't be submissive and quiet. They will have their voices heard.
Refreshing morning, Thulas and Jumbo Africa to the listeners. Indeed, Thulas, when we looked yesterday, we mentioned that Rajaona Rivelo was appointed as the new prime minister. But the Generation Z, MADA or TANA in Madagascar, they are saying that they will not allow an old practice to be passed off as something new. They say their revolution will not be hijacked. They are lamenting, Thulas, particularly on the question of that this decision was made without a dialogue or consultation. Hence, now you find that this youth, they are saying that they will go back to the street once more. They have expressed anger, disappointment with this appointment of the businessman. As I said, he was appointed on that ticket to us that he has international networks. He'll be able to fix the Malagasy economic and financial ecosystem.
From what the young Gen Zs are doing in Madagascar to what the elderly are doing in Cameroon. Tell me what's happening in Yaoundé and Paul Biya. He's now been declared the provisional winner.
Thulas, yesterday, remember, we said we're expecting them to come out tomorrow on the 23rd, but the National Voting Counting released what they call provisional outcome, pointing to the victory of the incumbent President Paul Biya with 53% of the votes. in front of his main opponent, Isa Chiroma Bakara, who got only 35%. We already know, Tulas, this outcome is already in dispute because Chiroma has been claiming victory for the past week. Now, it will go back to us that only Constitutional Council will publish the official results on the 26th of October. And if validated, that will extend Paul Biya to 42-year rule at the helm of Cameroon at the age of 92 years old and becoming one of the longest-serving presidents in Africa.
And he's at the age of 92 as he prepares to start that new term. Let's go to Ivory Coast in Cote d'Ivoire. Tell me about the build-up to the elections. It's the 25th of October, those elections. Tell me what's at stake.
Tulas, what is at stake? One has to look back at the 2020 elections that had chaos. There was violence. There was disputes, if you recall, around Ouattara running for the third term. Almost 85 people died. But what are the key drivers here? Economical, Tulas, we know Ivory Coast, when you think of cocoa sector, this is one of the areas that those who will come into power, they will have to deal with it. The issue of the impact of climate change also will be one of the key areas that will be looked into, as well as security concern in the northern regions where you have many jihadist threats. And that's what makes these elections interesting. We are counting down only 72 hours to us. On the 25th, Cote d'Ivoire decides. And you look at the generational shift also to us, 60% of Ivorians are under 25. So we don't know whether they will rally behind the old elitists or they will demand the new faces. As we have already mentioned them, that only the wife of Laurent Gbagbo, Simona Gbagbo, is the one contesting, but others have been barred from contesting these elections that are critical in Ivory Coast. So we'll closely look at them, Tulas, as you say, is the countdown for the elections in Ivory Coast over this weekend.
And lastly, Sipho, in your historical archive, you take us to 22 October 1936. What's the reason for that?
Tulas, this activist, political activist, a well-known intellectual, a linguist, a person who studied, completed 3 university degrees in history and Germany at the University of Cape Town. He was not born in Cape Town, but he passed away in Cape Town in 2012 on the 27th of August. But on this day, he will have been 89 years. We're talking about Dr. Neville Alexandra. As I said to us, a linguist of note. If you recall that he was an activist who formed the National Liberation Front in the early years. And when he was released, he was one of the persons who worked on the language policy and planning in South Africa. He spent almost 10 years in Robben Island to us, the late Dr. Neville Alexandra, who was born in Craddock in Eastern Cape. Asante sana Thulas, as facilitating the conversation, SAFM.
Sipho, thank you for that. That's Sipho Mandula with your Africa update for today.
I'm Reverend Musa Zondi, the MEC for Economic Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs in KwaZulu-Natal. From the 22nd to the 24th of October 2025, we will be meeting with government leaders, economists, industrialists and investors at the KwaZulu-Natal Investment Conference to be held at the Inkosi Albert Luthuli ICC in Durban. This conference, organized by one of the department's public entities, Trade and Investment KwaZulu-Natal, will be officially opened by the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, the Honorable Thamsanqa Ntuli, who will elaborate on unique investment opportunities in sectors such as manufacturing, the oceans economy, tourism and many others that make our province a preferred destination for investment and industrial growth. For more information about this conference, please visit www.tikzn.co.za or follow Trade and Investment KwaZulu-Natal on social media platforms.
The Blues chase a crucial win in their own backyard.
Releases James, and it deflects, and it's there! Enzo Fernandez with the simplest of finishes to give Chelsea the lead.
But the Black Cats want to demonstrate why they belong in the top half.
Decent ball in, header down is in! Sunderland have it, and listen to the noise. It couldn't have gone any better.
This is the Premier League. Witness Chelsea FC versus Sunderland FC on Saturday, 25 October at 3:30 p.m. Live on SABC3 and SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Thulasizwe Simelane is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
All right, 6:45. You know what rapid fire is? I think that's what we're trying to do within the next 15 minutes. Just squeeze in as much as possible. So let's start. After a month-long shutdown triggered by deadly clashes, the Western Cape government has reopened key minibus taxi routes between Khayelitsha, Mfuleni, and Somerset West. While calm has largely been restored, deep-rooted tensions between rival taxi associations, CATA and Codeta, remain unresolved. The public cautiously welcomes the move, but fresh violence threatens to undermine the fragile peace. Let's speak to Isaac Sileku, who is the Western Cape Mobility Minister. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. What was the objective you sought to achieve with the route shutdown, and has it been achieved a month later?
Good morning, Tulas, and good morning to your listeners. Tulas, the intent of the first notice that was published was clear. We wanted to establish a stability. We wanted less intimidation. We wanted association not to poach each other, and we wanted to make sure that our commuters are safe. And we have put in measures to assess the situation for almost 3 weeks. And then when the 30 days came to elapse, we were able to take a decision to say we are satisfied from the side of government, specifically me, that what we ought to achieve by bringing stability and less violence and less intimidation at the affected taxi ranks and routes, we were able to let the notice lapse.
But what sustainable mechanisms have you been able to put in place during that pause, that 4-week pause that allowed you to, think at least and perhaps get into kind of conversations and negotiations?
No, from our side, we have always been consistently saying in the media that we are open for dialogue. My officials have been engaging with both associations on a daily basis, and the indications were that they are willing to find each other. And also from our side, we've been monitoring law enforcement. And when we first started in the first week, there were more impoundments, and we ended up seeing less and less impoundments, and there was actually 0 impoundments. And there was no complaint from people saying that they feel intimidated. And there was boots on the ground, and all the routes have been monitored. And those are mechanisms that we put in. And on Sunday, I was also able to speak to both CATA and Codeta. And the indications are there that the organizations are close to finding each other. And just unfortunate that one of the associations wanted time, and that's why we are not able to come to a conclusion.
Are you in any way treating the assassination of a CATA taxi boss on the R300 highway as a sign of perhaps further tensions, potential for further violence between the warring associations?
No, firstly, I must say it's very concerning for me, specifically when someone loses their life, regardless from which associations you're coming from. And I would want to convey my deepest condolences to the CATA association and their family members. But at this particular moment, we are unable to actually link the incident to the routes that have been opened. And as soon as we find reports coming from the South African Police Services, when they are done with their investigation, we will be able to comment further on that one. But as things look now, and as things stand, we are confident that it was not linked to the routes, because R300 is not even linked to the routes that we opened.
Lastly, MEC, many people will be saying what you did, shutting down those routes and taxi ranks and the likes for a month, is largely unthinkable in other parts of the country because of the pushback that you would face from the taxi industry. How were you able to pull it off? What did it entail?
No, Thulasizwe, to be honest with you, from the onset when I first got into office, I have been clear and I've been consistent, saying that I really want to work with the industry. Why did I say that? Because I understand the history of the industry, how it was established, and what it's ought to achieve. And one cannot look beyond the point that if you look in terms of our province, the majority of our commuters are currently transported by the minibus taxi industry. So whatever decision that I have to take as the Provincial Minister of Mobility, I have to consider the people that uses this particular mode of transport. So every decision that I take, I always put the people first. And I understand the role that the minibus taxi industry. But also, I'm not going to compromise the safety of our commuters as much as the industry currently is the one that is transporting the majority of our people.
Right.
And I also told them that if they were really serious about the commuters, then they need to work with me instead of working against me.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. Isaac Sileku is Western Cape Mobility Minister.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Just a couple of highlights. Very heavy coming in from Protea Glen in Lenasia this morning towards Joburg using the N12 Potch Highway. A crash of the Golden Highway actually causing that backlog. The first of today's breakdowns going out of Durban through to Pietermaritzburg. You know what that means. The truck is broken down in the roadworks at Cliffdale. The traffic is already pushed back to the Key Ridge area. And Cape Town, a fatal pedestrian crash on the R300. It's southbound between Van Riebeeck Road and the Stellenbosch Arterial. So you're driving into a lane closure towards the N2, but it's the right lane that's closed, so it's highly visible to northbound, which is under pressure going up from the Delft side. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
SAFM. Prime time all day long.
So you will have seen this video that's gone viral. It's truly disturbing, it's distressing, it's difficult to watch. It's a video shot at Milnerton High School in Cape Town where you see the assault and bullying of a grade 10 pupil by a group of boys. It's really triggered a lot of outrage and calls for accountability. So let's hear from Brona Hammond, who is the Director of Communications in the Western Cape Education Department. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. I know that you were encouraging parents and other community members to not keep sharing that video. But give us the context of what happened. What is your understanding of the incident at that school?
The school was informed only on Friday of the actual incident. They initiated an investigation immediately and, issued letters to the parents of the learners that they could identify at the time. But obviously it's an investigation and they need to identify if there were other learners involved that might not be in the video, who was behind the video screen. There's a process that needs to be followed. And they acted upon it immediately and then identified 8 learners, which the school governing body last night met and issued precautionary suspension letters to those 8 learners who will now face a disciplinary hearing. So there is a process that's happening, and I think that's important. It is good to expose bullying, and you mustn't let it just not be exposed. And that's one thing that social media does do. But at the same time, we must also be cognizant that there is a victim involved, and the further distribution of that that video does in future it will provide traumatic. It just relives the trauma, to be honest. So we just need to be cognizant of that. But be assured that there is action taking place in terms of dealing with the issue.
So just confirm then, you're saying that there was a meeting last night and the decision was taken to put those boys on precautionary suspension pending a disciplinary process. What does that entail? What's the likely consequence management, knowing and understanding the level at which the cognitive level at which children operate at that stage, but also needing to enforce consequences for wrongdoing?
Well, the disciplinary process lies with the school governing body. So the school governing body, obviously they need an investigation report to then lay the charges in terms of the disciplinary process. And that's what has been taking place over the last 2 days. Now they will sit down and have the disciplinary process, interview the learners involved, and then have an outcome. And those sanctions could vary to, a recommendation for expulsion to the head of department, to counselling support, doing social work in the community or at the school. There's various mechanisms that they could choose from. So we'll have to let those processes happen and take place. But again, I just want to assure people that there are processes taking place and the school is taking it seriously.
Lastly, what kind of support is being provided to the boy that we see in the video, whom I understand from some reading that actually survived cancer and now the reports suggest that, is wary of going back to school and basically, from the reporting I've seen, talking about the possibility of homeschooling. But also my understanding from the reporting, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, is that there was more than one boy that was bullied and assaulted in that way.
Well, that's what we need to identify. You know, the social media ran off with the story before we could even get the facts of it. And I think that's one thing, you know, we do understand that, you know, that there's concern about what happened, but we also need to obtain the facts before we can, you know, jump to conclusions. So that investigation report is still to come to the WCD, but we have been in contact with the school, obviously. They reported the matter immediately to us first. The counselling support has been made available and will definitely continue. And obviously the WCD will also provide whatever support we can to the affected victim in terms of other schooling options if that is required.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. Brona Hammond is Director of Communications in the Western Cape Education Department.
Thulasizwe Simelane on The Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
All right, let's continue with that theme of basic education. The 2025 matric final exams got underway yesterday with nearly 1 million South African pupils preparing to write the most important tests of their schooling careers. With both public and private sectors reporting strong readiness and increased security measures, educational experts are turning attention to learners' well-being, resilience, as well as access to resources as key factors for success. Let's speak to Professor Mary Metcalf, who's Professor of Practice at the University of Johannesburg. Good morning to you, Prof, and thank you for your time. So all indications all around are that it's all systems go, but what's your sense in terms of the learnings from past challenges where there were systemic tweaks that needed to happen to make the entire logistical process flawless, but at the same time promoting good outcomes?
Hi, Thulasizwe. Yes, you know, we go into this year's MSc exams with Umalusi having said that we're ready to go. They do have some concerns. But what I think we always underestimate is the pressure on learners across the range of contexts in our country. Not all learners have had the same access to resources at home and school. And this will always reflect in the results.
Is that part of what accounts for why we see that a small percentage of schools account for the vast majority of distinctions? Talk to me about that differential between various contexts, urban, rural, informal settlements, you know, and other areas that are quite challenged in terms of the socio-economics.
Internationally, all the evidence shows that children from better resourced families are, for many reasons, which you can imagine, but we can go into, performing better at school. There's just the space to work, the availability of reading material at home, etc. And so if we look at poverty in South Africa, it does still follow. A poverty map follows the old contours of poverty of the homeland. And so what we find in the matric results, what we find in the availability of learning and teaching support material, what we find with class size, all of those follow the same contours of poverty. Now that would therefore mean that you have the most poor provinces, which, by the way, for the way that the money is allocated across provinces, the formula which gives the provinces their individual budgets for the year, for the province as a whole, is KwaZulu-Natal has the greatest share of the poor in the country. 22% of the country's poor are in KZN. And in Gauteng, it's 18.8%. Eastern Cape, 14.8%, 13%. So 50% of the poorest people, and therefore the poorest learners in the country, are in those four provinces. Now, Eastern Cape and Limpopo are traditionally rural, and we that is where we get often the poorest performance in the NSC. KZN is interesting because despite the high levels of poverty, it has managed to maintain quite a high retention rate of learners, making it all the way to the National Senior Certificate, as well as increasingly extraordinarily high results. But the one that also interests me is Gauteng, with its high level of poverty, which is not necessarily what people always associate with Gauteng. And Gauteng, we have large movement of people into informal settlements in Gauteng, where we indeed have high levels of poverty. So if you look at those provinces and then you look at resources available in schools, it means learners going into the National Senior Certificate have had their 12 or more years characterized by poorer educational environments, larger class sizes, poorer access to textbooks. So we will always see the results of poverty playing out in the NSC results, not in a deterministic way which denies the amazing efforts and success stories of so many teachers and learners from poor areas.
All right. Let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. Professor Mary Metcalf is Professor of Practice at the University of Johannesburg. Let's go straight to Ann Musa, who's got your latest news.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In our top stories, Malema questions Mkhunu on Matlala's affidavit and UN experts condemns US interventions in Venezuela. Good morning. EFF leader Julius Malema has questioned Police Minister Senzo Mkhunu for soliciting an affidavit from attempted murder accused Vusimuzi Kat Matlala. Mkhunu, who was placed on special leave, appeared before Parliament's ad hoc committee looking into allegations of criminal infiltration, corruption and political interference in the criminal justice system that was made by the KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. The committee heard that Mkhunu obtained an affidavit from Matlala, who faces attempted murder charges, to confirm that they have no relations. But Malema questioned why Mkhunu felt the need to get the confirmation from someone who is behind bars.
Who you get affidavits from is very important. You don't just get affidavit from questionable characters, especially people who are behind bars. That as a Minister of Police, even if there's nothing legally wrong, you should just know it might raise certain questions, which gave this situation we find ourselves in. Had you not solicited anything from Matlala, was in maximum prison where it should be difficult to access him.
A police detective known only as Witness A broke down at the Madlanga Commission yesterday as he concluded his two-day testimony. Witness A detective investigating criminal cartels, testified about how his team managed to crack the murder of vereniging engineer Armin Swart. This subsequently came at a high cost to him, as this led to him and his colleague Witness B being under 24-hour protection. He told the Commission that even if the option of staying in a safe house under 24-hour protection was not available, he would still do it again.
I have met the families of the victims, and and when I speak to them, they are grateful for the work that we are doing as a team, even those families where arrests have not yet been made. They appreciate that someone is working on the case to bring justice for their loved ones. The satisfaction of knowing that I am making a difference.
Witness A, are you okay?
Witness A concluded his testimony yesterday. Witness B is expected to take to the stand this morning. A community member who does not want to be identified for fear of victimization has told SABC News that drug lords are using young boys to attack each other in a fight for territory in Westbury. This after 2 teenagers were shot dead and 5 others wounded in what police suspect to be gang violence. The woman says the drug lords are known to the community.
Gang-related drugs, the old men using the young boys to do their dirty work for them, giving them money, and they target young boys that have poverty, don't have money, doesn't go to school, then they promise the boys maybe 10,000 or 5,000, then they give the children 250 to go and shoot somebody.
A suspect has been arrested in connection with the fatal shooting of 5 people at a tavern in Zitobeni in Bronkhorstspruit outside Pretoria. Scores of other patrons were shot and injured when gunmen randomly opened fire at the tavern 2 weeks ago. Police spokesperson Brenda Muradili says the suspect will appear in court soon.
The Provincial Serious and Violence Crimes Investigation, working closely with Bronkhorstspruit members, has arrested one of the suspects linked to the 5th of October tavern shooting. The arrest was made on the 21st of October 2025 in Zitobeni, which is the same township where the incident occurred. The suspect is set to appear before the Bronkhorstspruit Magistrate Court on 23 October 2025, facing charges of 5 counts of murder and 6 counts of attempted murder. Meanwhile, 5 of the 6 hospitalized victims have been discharged, with the 6th still receiving medical attention.
And finally, independent UN human rights experts have condemned what they described as coercive interventions by the United States in Venezuela. In a statement issued out of Geneva, the 3 special rapporteurs warned that the lethal force by the US against alleged drug traffickers in international waters without a proper legal basis amounted to extrajudicial killings in violation of international law. Showan Bryce Peace reports.
The 3 rapporteurs who were appointed by the UN Human Rights Council warned that the threat of using armed force against the government of Venezuela violated the fundamental international obligation not to intervene in the domestic affairs or threaten to use armed force against another country. The experts urged the United States to cease unlawful attacks and threats, respect international law, and reaffirm its commitment to multilateralism and the purposes of the UN Charter.
Recapping the top story, EFF leader Julius Malema has questioned Police Minister Senzo Mchunu for soliciting an affidavit from attempted murder accused Vusimuzi Cat Matlala. Mchunu, who was placed on special leave, appeared before Parliament's ad hoc committee looking into allegations of criminal infiltration, corruption and political interference in the criminal justice system. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. You could spend 10 minutes waiting for that file to download. Or get a 10-minute quote from Outsurance that could save you thousands on your car insurance. For his 2024 Ford Ranger, 57-year-old Andy now pays only 1,083 Rand a month. And for her 2020 Hyundai Tucson, 48-year-old Felicity pays just 836 Rand a month. Ready to get more out of your car insurance? SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
And it's a very good morning to you in your SFM sports headlines. Cricket action. The Proteas women shine at the World Cup. Marizanne Cup leads with the bat and ball. And a big night in the UEFA Champions League. Barcelona, Paris Saint-Germain and Arsenal hit top gear while Manchester City edge Villarreal. All the details just before 7:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Still very heavy coming into the Joburg area out of Protea Glen in Lenasia. It's a crash on the N12 eastbound approaching the Golden Highway exit. Traffic's all the way back through towards sort of Klipsray Valley Drive and back towards the Lenasia on-ramp. So you might want to reroute through Soweto out of Protea Glen and out through Aikenoff, perhaps leaving the Lenasia side. N12 from Pitfontein through Benoni to Boksburg. Super busy this morning. N3 north into Buccleuch, currently sitting from Linbro Park as you hit the roadwork area there. Pretoria's Mighty Mopani Highway, pretty heavy from Theo Martins all the way down to Eskia and Pathlali Drive. A reminder of the stationary truck already with us at Cliffdale. Traffic on the way out of Durban to Pietermaritzburg, badly backed up again from Keeridge. That's a major delay. If you know what you're doing, you take the old road up through Drummond and Bottas Hill, come back on at somewhere like Cato Ridge to avoid all of that. There's some heavy pressure on the M7 going into Pinetown queues from Hans Detman Highway. And Cape Town, a crash involving a pedestrian on the N3 A3 southbound before Stellenbosch Arterial. That is slow as you head to Delft, but the onlooking on the high volume R300 North is a heavy queue. So from Delft up towards the Kales River Van Riebeek Road exit, R300 badly backed up. The N2 inbound has a broken down vehicle at the R300. The N2 pushing a queue back almost to Baden-Powell Drive. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
10 minutes after 7 on this Wednesday. It's great to be in your company. Welcome to it. The second hour of the Morning Brief here on SAFM 104 to 107. By the way, let's keep the conversation going. Do call me throughout the morning. The number for that is 086 000 2032. 086 0002032, or you can send me a WhatsApp voice note or even WhatsApp messages, and I'll make time to read out some of those. And the number for that, save it on your phone actually, 0614 104 107. In the next few minutes, we'll get a comprehensive update from Kenny Mapanga, SABC News reporter, watching the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Lots of revelations yesterday, the social interactions between police officers and controversial and at times criminally inclined elements within our society. Some of that testimony coming through from witness A. This is the witness who's not being identified, other than us knowing that this is a person who is a Gauteng detective. Kenny Mapanga will unpack all of that for us in the next few minutes. And what has happened and where have all the Joburg millionaires gone? We are told that Johannesburg has lost quite a significant amount of its dollar millionaires in the last 10 years, declining by about 35%. Still, Johannesburg still boasts the highest number of dollar millionaires on the continent, and we're told there's 11,700 of dollar millionaires who live in Johannesburg. We'll look at the trends, but also look at what the implications are. What do they tell us about the quality of life that's making these people who actually have a choice to choose to live in Joburg or to move out of the city? Cape Town, we're told, is actually rising and could become the wealthiest city in South Africa by 2030. We'll talk to Warren Ingram at about 7:20, unpacking that it's intriguing report that has come out in the last few days. All right, let's waste no more time. Let's get straight to it. The second hour of the Morning Brief on this Wednesday.
Imagine if you could save time like you save money. A second here, a minute there. Type a little faster, walk a little faster. Or you could stop scrolling on the internet. Just think of all the hours you'll save. Now what if you could take all that time and invest it? Watch it grow. Until eventually, one day, you'd have so much time that you wouldn't know what to do with it all. But unfortunately, time doesn't work like that. It can't be stored or banked. And unlike money, you can't make it back. That's why after 50 years of investing, we've learned that time is the greatest gift of all. And the good news is, if you invest early, time gives you money. And then money gives you more time to do whatever you want to do, even if it is scrolling on the internet. Ellen Gray, long-term investing. Ellen Gray is an authorized FSP.
So, Taryn, you've just graduated cum laude, but nothing says you're a genius quite like selling your car to We Buy Cars.
Absolutely. My car was an 18th birthday present, and it's time to move on to something a bit more mature.
So where did you hear about We Buy Cars?
All of my friends are using We Buy Cars. I would have had legit FOMO if I hadn't used them. And it was so quick. I did it on my laptop while sending around my CV.
Smart move, Taryn. Graduated and upgraded. We Buy Cars. Geared for success. Geared for you.
This is Lungi on any other regular day.
This economy makes me post once a day. Who
does that. Like, ew.
Now this is Lungi getting extra with the 20 gig summer deal for just 99 Rand.
I have so many gigs. I could even have a gig, guys. I'm going live every single day to me because get
Extra your summer. Get 20 gigs plus 2 months free YouTube Premium and 100 Vodabucks. Exclusively on the Vodapay app. T's and C's apply. Further together. Vodacom.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
It's coming up to 15 minutes after 7. The economic freedom fighters leader, Julius Malema's name, has been mentioned at the Madlanga Commission. Witness A has testified that Malema is a close friend of suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner Shadrack Sibiya. However, nothing about Witness A's testimony links Malema to the allegations being investigated by the Commission. Witness A says he was informed about Malema's alleged close relationship with Sibiya by the head of organized crime, that is General Richard Shibiri. Let's talk to Kenny Mapanga, who's been tracking all of that. Kenny, good morning. That's just one aspect, the mentioning of Julius Malema. It wasn't the major aspect, was it? Much of what I heard had to do actually with General Richard Shibiri himself.
Indeed. Good morning to you, Tulas, and to the listeners. Essentially, what was being conveyed, or at least what we think is being conveyed, by the various conversations of Major General Richard Shibiri and Witness A, is that we're getting a sense that it's not clear yet whether these were sincere warnings or someone who was concerned about their junior officers that were now going against individuals which we have heard through testimony are individuals who are powerful, who are in a very dangerous terrain. Because remember, there are several instances where he mentions Major General Shibiri as someone who was warning him about the kind of probe that he was undertaking, to the extent that there was a meeting where he alleges that, I guess, he felt that Shibiri was trying to gauge or bait or influence the investigators in this matter to back off, letting them know that there was an alleged bribe on the table. And the context upon which EFF leader Julius Malema has mentioned is in this constant conversation that he continues to have with Shibiri, or Shibiri continues to give him a heads up of the kind of connections of the wide network that these alleged criminal cartel members belong to. And that is the context upon which Julius Malema was mentioned, stating that he is someone who is connected to a businessman, and on the other side of the connection is that Malema is connected allegedly to Shadrack Sibiya. But to us, that point was not driven further at that stage. I don't know if Witness B, who is the second detective that has worked more prominently on this case of Armand Swart, maybe she will be the detective that will explain what that meant, or maybe Major General Richard Shibiri himself will come and explain why he was constantly mentioning or dropping names about who was allegedly involved with these alleged cartels that they were now investigating.
And was more said to build on the testimony that had started the day before, including what was said about this so-called White House on the Hill. Was there something more that was said to build up on that?
Well, the White House on the Hill was more of the testimony that dealt with how SAPS or high-ranking SAPS officials, so that is the seniors of these detectives, how they are in alleged cahoots with these various characters that enjoy close associations allegedly with these alleged criminal cartels. But where he started off yesterday was to paint a picture of how the takedown operation of Thulasizwe Simelane took place. That when they went to his residence as the intelligence wing now, because these detectives are now under 24-hour protection with the assistance of the PKTT, and they were now going to go to this home on the 6th of December to give effect to this arrest. He went into great detail to explain how they followed procedure, got consent to do a search in the home, and that is where they discovered those documents that link to this alleged tender that Armand Swart died for regarding the alleged buying contract on behalf of Transnet, and then of course QTech is the company that which Armand Swart was hired in, and they flagged the inflation of prices regarding that. And then what followed is the passing of Armand Swart, who was gunned down in a hail of 23 bullets in a reported case of mistaken identity. But Katiso Molefe in that house does not attribute those documents to him. He attributes it to his son and his nephew, who we get an understanding is an alleged insider in Transnet. What then follows is a testimony to show the kind of alleged interference and interest that their seniors had in this particular individual that is Katiso Molefe. We're hearing evidence that the Hawks, a separate unit of SAPS, descended on that house, and the captain that was communicating with Witness A at the time allegedly told him that they were instructed to go there by the National Hawks head. And at that time, it was only one person who was leading the Hawks. It is the retired General Godfrey Libya. And when the commission clarified, is that what he understood the captain to be saying to him from the Hawks? Witness A testified that he understood it to mean that Libya had sent him. Then when they sent Katiso Molefe to the Pretoria SAPS instead of the local police station, which would have been in Sandton, that's when we hear Lieutenant General Shadrack Sibiya's name coming up again, where the Witness A alleges that there was a lot of concern about why he was being placed in this particular police station and not the local police station, stating that he was given a call by one of his colleagues alleging that they have now nabbed one of the general's people and that the generals, the SAPS generals, are not happy about this particular arrest. So you're seeing a great interest in this particular individual and great efforts to allegedly shield him from the process that was taking place at the time.
Lastly, quickly and very quickly, Kenny, so you confirm that today we go to Witness B?
Indeed. Witness B will be the second detective that worked with organized crime, and she is the one who would have worked more prominently on the Amand Swart murder case. So we expect that she will go into further detail about this bail procedure, because there are now further allegations coming out about the way that presiding officers and officers of the court handled this particular bail procedure with respect to Katiso Molefe, because he is now on bail twice for two related allegations of murder. So she will give evidence to that effect.
All right, let's leave it there. Thank you for that, Kenny Mapanga. Comprehensive reporting. It almost feels like, you know, those boards that you see in detective movies with pictures of various people and pins and strings being drawn between to show connections. And we've been drawing so many connections that we're running out of string. We're completely running out of string. That's Kenny Mapanga. Follow her reporting throughout the day here on SABC News.
You could spend 10 minutes waiting for that video to download. Or get a 10-minute quote from Outsurance that could save you thousands on your car insurance. SMS out to 30754. Like 48-year-old Felicity, who now pays a low 836 Rand a month for her 2020 Hyundai Tucson. With Outsurance, you get the legendary Out bonus that pays you a percentage of your premiums back if you're claim-free. SMS out to 30754. Make today the day you switch and get more out. After switching, 31-year-old Palisa now pays only 926 Rand a month for her 2024 Kia Sonet. Ready to get more out of your car insurance? Get a quote today. And if Outsurance can't beat what you're currently paying, you can ask for 500 Rand. Make that 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Savings or cash, you have nothing to lose. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Trust is earned when it's put to the test. The certainty your data is safe. The knowledge that when threats evolve, you're ahead of them. Vodacom's cybersecurity protects what matters. From national networks to enterprise IP, your data stays secure and your people stay connected. Search Vodacom Business Security. Together, let's build the extraordinary. Vodacom Business. Further together.
Conversations that you connect with and react to. SAFM.
A new kind of census, sort of census is out, and Johannesburg appears to be rapidly losing a key demographic, millionaires. While Johannesburg still boasts the highest number of dollar millionaires in Africa, 11,700, compared to Cape Town's 8,500, its millionaire population has declined by 35% over the past decade. And that's according to the latest Africa Wealth Report 2025, compiled by Henley and Partners and New World wealth. And it seems Johannesburg's loss, as I said, is Cape Town's and the Cape Winelands' gain. Cape Town is emerging as a new hub, new wealth hub with more centi-millionaires, that is people worth more than $100 million, and billionaires, dollar billionaires, in comparison with Joburg. And that sets the city on course, we are told, to overtake Joburg as the wealthiest South African city by 2030. What's driving these trends and why does it all matter? Let's welcome Warren Ingram, who is co-founder of Galileo Capital. Good morning to you, Warren, and thank you for your time. Fascinating reading for sure, but what do these trends reveal?
I think we need to understand there are probably a couple of overlapping trends. I mean, one was the whole COVID pandemic. As we came out of lockdown, people realized that, that a lot of them could work from anywhere. And, if you get the chance to work at the coast, why not? And so, a batch of people, especially wealthier people, made that move very quickly. And some of them had this sort of romanticized idea that they could spend, 2 or 3 days a week in Joburg and then live, with their families in Cape Town. So I think that was part of it. And then the second part was around politics intertwining with service delivery, where, living in Joburg, you watch your roads decay and your infrastructure decay, and you fly to Cape Town on holiday and you see that it doesn't look like that. And so people with the financial ability to make the move have voted with their feet, and they've gone, to Cape Town, the Winelands, George, Plett, Knysna and the like. So it's quite a big move, and including places like Hermanus. So it's quite a big migration, I think largely driven by service delivery.
So would you say then, given what you just said, that last point, quite important, that this is a report that policymakers in cities like Joburg and Tshwane should not just brush off and say, it's just mere intriguing reading, but it has implications. What does it say about lifestyle appeal, safety concerns and municipal management?
I think it's exactly right. It feels to me like we shouldn't politicize, these issues and just brush off service delivery and say, well, the politician living in the city where it's not going well shouldn't just be saying this is just mere politicking. This is real. Like people are voting with their feet, not because they want to uproot their families and their lives. They're going to where they feel safe, where they feel secure, and where they can be sure of water and electricity. And you can't say that if you live in parts of Joburg now. You might not even have water for days on end. So I think it's very real, and it's such basic stuff. It's not, this isn't high level stuff. This is give us water and electricity and roads that work, and we'll be happy. And unfortunately, that's not happening.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. Warren Ingram is co-founder at Galileo Capital.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
It's rock and roll and the rumble in Rawalpindi continues. Good morning to you.
Oh, wow. If Test cricket needed
rocking
an advert,
and rolling. The rumble
right
in
there.
Rawalpindi.
Wow. I love that. Wow. You sound like exactly what our Proteas are up to, working hard there. They're rumbling in Rawalpindi. And this is the second test, day 3 against Pakistan. South Africa trailing by 134 runs at 199 for 5. Tristan Stubbs is holding firm on 73, not out from nearly 200 balls, alongside Sunuran Muthusamy on 8. Earlier, Pakistan were bowled out for 333, with Anrik Nokia and Keshav Maharaj amongst the pick of the bowlers. The Proteas will need a big partnership this morning to stay in the match. And speaking of staying in the match and staying in the tournament is the Proteas women, as all-rounder Marizanne Kapp starred with both the bat and ball as she played a key role in their 5th win of the ICC Women's Cricket World Cup over Pakistan. The SA women crushed their opponents by 150 runs via the Duckworth-Lewis-Stern method in Colombo, and it would seem very hard to imagine that Kapp and her team in this sort of form after they suffered that heavy defeat to England in their opening match.
Yeah, look, we were very disappointed with that performance against England. We felt like leading up to this World Cup, our preparation has been very good. Luckily, like you said, we turned it around very quickly, and again, I think that's the hard work that we've been putting in behind the scenes. And again, I think that's the beauty of this team, where we've not been relying on one person, and more people are starting to click and putting in performances.
Soccer now. South Africa's senior women's team, Banyana will face DR Congo in a crunch WAFCON qualifier tonight at King Sasha at 6 p.m. with both nations aiming to improve on past campaigns. This two-legged tie marks a vital first step towards Morocco 2026. And some Champions League action wrap. Barcelona running riot with a 6-1 thrashing of Olympiacos. Newcastle impressing at home, beating Benfica 3-0. In Eindhoven, PSV crushed Napoli 6-2. And Paris Saint-Germain were ruthless with a 7-2 demolition of Bayer Leverkusen. Elsewhere, Inter swept aside Union Saint-Gilloise 4-0. Dortmund beating Copenhagen 4-2. And Manchester City edged Villarreal 2-0. And Arsenal rounded off the night in style, cruising past Atletico Madrid with a 4-0 victory. And finally, athletes from Russia and Belarus will not be allowed to compete as neutral athletes in qualification events for next year's Winter Olympics in Milan and Cortina, following a vote by the sport's governing body. The International Ski and Snowboard Federation's decision means that unless a late change occurs, Russia and Belarusian skiers and snowboarders will not take part in the Games, which begins on the 6th of February. That's your sport. We'll keep it up at the top of the hour. For the Morning Brief, I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, a witness known only as Witness B will take to the stand at the Matlanga Commission of Inquiry this morning. The commission is probing allegations of criminality, corruption and political interference in the criminal justice system. EFF leader Julius Malema has questioned Police Minister Senzo Mchunu for soliciting an affidavit from attempted murder accused Vusimuzi Cat Matlala. Mchunu was placed on special leave, appeared before Parliament's ad hoc committee. And Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Higher Education says it will recommend that the Higher Education Minister Buti Manamela place the University of Fort Hare in the Eastern Cape under administration. The committee expressed dissatisfaction with the state of the university's affairs following weeks of unrest. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
Do great solutions start with good conversation? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
This traffic report is brought to you by Auto & General Business Insurance. Auto & General, never not there. Auto & General is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
At Auto & General, we understand your business is built on more than just vehicles. It's your stock, tools and equipment, and the premises where you work. Auto & General Business Insurance is designed for businesses like yours, protecting your assets against fire, theft, storms, and other unexpected events. To protect your livelihood, visit autogen.co.za and get an obligation-free business insurance quote. Auto & General, never not there. Auto & General is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Usual backlogs on Joburg's N3, and it is heavy north to Buccleuch, south to London Road. It will be like that while those roadworks continue, and it's an all-day delay. It's not just something you're sitting now with the big volumes of queues all day, every day through there. The N12 is unusual, coming from Pitfontein side of Benoni all the way through towards Rondebolt Road. That's just a road that is a lot busier these days than it used to be. So if you haven't done it for a while, you're coming in from Pitfontein, arriving in from Delmas, there is a wall of traffic to move through there. N12, Protea Glen up to Eldorado Park on your way to Joburg. Earlier disruption there with that crash now out of the way. Durban, heavy on the N2 going north. The crash before Umgeni Road. So all that traffic that backs from the M7 through the roadworks at Westwood Mall, extending heavier delays this morning up towards that Umgeni crash scene. And then you've got a breakdown in the roadworks between Kwamashu and Gateway. So on your way to the airport, there's an additional delay that's built up there. Stationary truck still with us, squeezed in amongst the Jersey barriers at Cliffdale. It's a daily event. It come early this morning, but the net result is one lane open. Big queues from almost back at Shongweni. If you know what you're doing, get around sort of Hillcrest and Bottas Hill Drum and come back on at Cato Ridge and just avoid that massive queue. Always a good idea to pack a light meal and some water if you're approaching Cliffdale. You never know what you're going to run into. Cape Town, heavy backlogs on the R300. A crash going southbound between Van Riebeeck Road and Stellenbosch Arterial. So that's a queue towards Delft, but it's right lane obstructed. So the big high volume northbound R300 backs heavily from Delft up through Stellenbosch Arterial towards that crashing. And there's a collision on the N2 inbound at Khayelitsha by Meway. That traffic now parked all the way back through to Baden-Powell Drive. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
That traffic report was brought to you by Auto and General Business Insurance. Auto and General, never not there. Auto and General is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Let's say good morning once again to Ndauling Lichela. Ndauling, let's talk monetary and monetary policy first. It seems there's some backing that is coming through for this idea of moving from a band as far as inflation is concerned to moving to a target and making that target to be 3%.
That's right, Thulas. Now, South Africa's push toward a 3% inflation target looks set to become official policy next month. This is a move expected by Fitch, which says it could strengthen market confidence and policy alignment between Treasury and the Reserve Bank. Now, Fitch expects Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana to confirm the lower target in his November 12th budget, formalizing a shift the central bank adopted in July. Now, the Treasury's backing would mark the first adjustment to the inflation framework since 2000. While the change is not expected to take effect immediately, investors have already priced it in, with bond yields easing and the rand gaining over 4% since that July central bank meeting. Now, Fitch sees inflation gradually trending towards 3% by 2027, opening space for further rate cuts. The move follows Reserve Bank Governor Lesetja Kganyago's remarks at the SA Tomorrow conference, where he reaffirmed the bank's firm stance on curbing inflation and said a formal joint announcement would follow in due course.
And the Integrated Resource Plan 2025, the future of energy in this country, coming out a couple of days ago, setting a target of 105,000 megawatts by 2039. Gas is a big part of that, isn't it? And it's being welcomed in the sector.
Yes, so the Industrial Gas Users Association of Southern Africa has cautiously welcomed government's stronger focus on gas in the draft IRP 2025, saying it marks a long overdue recognition of gas's role in the country's energy mix, but warns that supply risks still loom large. Now, the plan envisions gas contributing about 11% to South Africa's power mix by 2039, an increase from near zero levels today. The association's CEO Yaku Human described this as a strategic turning point that could unlock investment, jobs, and greater energy security. He, however, cautioned that the expected shortfall in gas's supply as current contracts expire poses a risk if not urgently addressed. Now, to avert this, Human said government and industry should move quickly to secure initial LNG agreements, align industrial demand, and accelerate exploration of domestic and regional reserves.
Lastly, Ndauling, how are we looking on the markets at this hour?
Kicking things off in Asia, markets mixed, with traders eyeing a meeting between Presidents Xi and Trump while also digesting Japanese trade data. Then over in Wall Street, futures in positive territory, investors assessing earnings while looking out for inflation data out on Friday. Traders here at home also awaiting CPI figures, and ahead of that, the rand is on the back foot this morning at 17.38 to the dollar. Local markets in the meantime closed in the red overnight, with the all share shedding 2%, fueled by a 7% decline in resources as precious metals like gold and platinum pulled back. Sticking with commodities, oil staging a bit of a rebound this morning and ticking higher, up 1.7% at 62.40 $62.40 per barrel.
All right, Ndauling, thank you for that. We'll talk to you once again just after 8:30. That's Ndauling there. She'll come back and give you a nice roundup just after 8:30 and also give you a sense of the kind of trading day you can expect on this Wednesday.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
So a shocking incident happening in Westbury in Joburg yesterday, and we've been hearing from the National Police Commissioner, General Fanny Masimula, who says that it is concerning that young children are being used as runners for drug peddling in areas like Westbury and elsewhere in the country. Masimula was briefing the media after engaging with the Gauteng Provincial Police Management following that incident where 7 teenagers were shot at in what is believed to be a gang-related incident. 2 of those teenagers, of course, died at the scene, were declared dead on arrival at hospital, rather. 2 of them were declared dead on arrival at hospital, while 5 others remain in hospital. Let's speak to Jefferson Alistair, who is a Westbury community leader. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. A shocking incident, but give me a sense of what we know about this incident and how it points to problems in the community.
Thank you so much for having me. First, I'd like to say, it's really a sad situation as to what a community as Westbury have to endure all the time. We've had all these shootings like almost every day. There's like a week where you can say that it's really quiet, and then suddenly there's an eruption again with regards to gang violence. Well, the sad part is that, the boys unfortunately had to lose their lives. But on a daily basis, I would actually call these Firetown police based on the very same boys that passed away and some of the boys that was shot. Every other morning in that street of Staker, these are boys that was always active in robberies and gang-related issues. And just prior to the incident yesterday, there was some that also transpired. So you must remember one thing for sure, that unfortunately the truth needs to be highlighted in the area, that this is an old lady that lives at that house. She sells drugs. That is the old lady that incites violence to the community. So all those boys are always involved with violence in the community. So unfortunately, this attack had to come back to our house now based on what these boys did. So just prior to this engagement, there was one of the other boys that's part of that whole group that actually went out to shoot somebody. But unfortunately, these people obviously came back and they obviously done what they did yesterday. Very sad, but this is the reality that we are living in. And the fact that those boys, I doubt they even attend school. That is how bad the situation is there.
So the police commissioner expresses concern, saying that teenagers are increasingly being used as runners in the drug trade. And there's that concern about being recruited, young children being recruited as young as 13, 14 or thereabouts. What's driving that trend and what does it point to?
The also a very unfortunate truth is based on the situation in our community. There's a lot of poverty in our communities at this current juncture, and this is something that we can't easily run from. Many times we've had these issues with regards to joblessness, matriculants that are sitting at home. And unfortunately, I think one of the other things is that needs to be highlighted is the fact that, with the segregation in our community based on where you live, you can't go to school on that side of the fence. You can't go to school on that end. So it becomes a very challenging situation in the area. So if your family is linked to gangsterism, it's very easy that you'll be implicated in being a gang member based on the fact that your family or somebody or friends that you are associated with are obviously affiliated with the gangs. So I also speak about the fact that the diagram in our area, how our area is situated, where we live, you are seen as a certain gang member. So all the dynamics to these kind of things has a lot of influence with regards to where these boys live,
Yeah.
So that is one of the dynamics that we see, and I've seen it for over many years, that this is the reality of where we are living.
What's your assessment of the adequacy of the response given the crisis that we are dealing with? Policing of particularly priority crimes is under the spotlight nationally at the moment, with all the commissions happening as well as the ad hoc committee in Parliament. What can you say about prioritization of gangsterism and drugs in communities like yours at the moment? Is it adequate?
And I think it's absolutely, for me, it's not adequate at all. Because if you see, this has been happening for many years in our communities. How many brigadiers have we had in this community, and they cannot eradicate the situation with regards to gangsterism or defuse it? I've sat down with General Mawela, General, so many of the generals that I sat with. Remember, there was a deployment with regards to the minister that was deployed to our area in the year 2018. There was also deployments thereafter. There's always deployments with regards to gangsterism in the area. At this current juncture, I don't know if it's the dynamic of how they work their deployments with regards to the policing, because I also feel at the very same time, I heard on one of the interviews how they're saying that the community needs to work with the police. But the unfortunate thing is that it's so easy for the police to end up back into the community's pockets with regards to gangsterism and drugs. So if you look at all these different ad hocs and all that, you can see for a fact that there's certain things that we can't eradicate very easily. It's always money related. It's always gang related. It's always, there has to be a iron fist to all these things. Yeah. That you banish on the one end, on the other end you leave it because you are getting paid. Yeah. You understand? So there's certain truth that we can't run from, and we probably never eradicate that because it's always about the money. It's always about who has the most money and always who can give you more in order for you to win that side. That is where we're sitting at this current moment. And if you go to all these colored areas, you'll see this is one of the things that we are sitting with. It's the fact that if the money can be put in the right pocket with regards to policing, it ends off well. But if it's not in the right pocket, you're going to end up with a situation like that. Also, I think it's sorry. I know I'm taking your time, but I think it's also the concern that the communities have with regards to how the policing operates. Based on the fact that I live in a flat where everybody sees the flat as a gangster flat. Now, one of the things is that all the boys in the area comes there and not because we have gangsters there. No, it's always seen as that. But for many years, those were the kind of things that we saw as challenges.
All right, I do need to leave it there. Thank you for your time this morning. That is Jefferson Alistair, who is a Westbury community leader.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
It's being called a staggering blowout. The city of Tshwane has spent a jaw-dropping 777 million rand on water tankers in just 1 year. And that's about 457 million rand over budget and nearly 672 million rand more than the year before. The revelation, uncovered by a News 24 investigation, has sparked outrage, as you can imagine, and questions about who benefited and whether residents in water-scarce communities actually saw any relief. The spending spree coincided with the new ANC Action SA EFF coalition taking over the metro, and some are now asking whether procurement was about service delivery or political deals. City officials are defending the expenditure, blaming Rand Water shutdowns, the planned shutdowns that they needed to make provision for that, crumbling infrastructure and old pipes. Let's speak to Bongani Ramonja, who is leader of the Soil of Africa civic movement. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. So the key question is, how did this happen? How did we move from expenditure from where it was the previous year, about 140 million rand in 2023-2024, to 777 million rand this year? Do you have any understanding?
Firstly, thank you very much, my leader. Greetings to the listeners of SAFM. Firstly, let's get this thing right. Soil of Africa is a civic movement, and we're more on a commitment to justice and accountability and service delivery as a whole. So this is a grave concern that City of Tshwane has increased to 777 million of water tankers. Because what we understand is that City of Tshwane right now, they are reducing the informal settlements They've already reduced in Garankuwa, they've reduced here in Mamelodi, Luafontaine, and Hammanskraal. So the question is that we don't have much informal settlement the way we used to be before. And I mean, then we used to have more than 19 informal settlement only in Mamelodi. So imagine across Tshwane how many informal settlement we had. And then we were supposed to have more budget then, but it's surprisingly, why do we have more budget now when we have reduced those informal settlement? We've removed people, the city has removed people from informal settlement, taking them to so-called informal settlement, which the budget was supposed to be reduced to one.
Yeah.
And secondly, taking them to the so-called formal settlement. They were supposed to be sanitation, water ready, and electricity. But unfortunately, they're taking people to informal settlement again, where now water tankers has to be there. They have to increase water tanks again. And the question is that if the increase of the budget is that high, they must tell us, there must be accountability, that who has been given the contract, one. We need to know who's been given the contract. There must be a breakdown of the cost or CAT for this, and as well as the pay, how much are they charging, and who are those, what process of the tender process that they took, the evaluation of the critical, or the criteria rather, and the contract duration. So we need to understand all those things.
Yeah.
And we are very aware that there's more even allegations that some of these contractors are aligned with the MMCs and the councillors. So the taxpayers has to be concerned about where their money is going in the city of Tshwane.
So the official explanation includes, it's expansive, but it includes, among others, saying that there was that Rand Water maintenance shutdown earlier on in 2024. Then there's also the explanation that says there are areas like Hammanskraal and Rooiwal that still rely on tankers because of pollution from the Rooiwal wastewater treatment works. Do any of those explanations fly with you?
It doesn't make any sense. If you look at the Rooiwal issue, if we can go deeper and research about the Rooiwal issue, it's not that there's an issue there in Rooiwal. It's political stand and it's political crisis there. The Rooiwal, they're utilizing it as an opportunity to take money out of the city, one. Then secondly, we don't have a lot of a reservoir that needs a water rent to service. Do you know that even in Region 7, that side of Cullinan, there is a new reservoir that has never functioned and operated. They've spent more than 68 million. It's still sitting and spending. It doesn't give water. But the people of Cullinan, they use water tankers just around the reservoir. Secondly, there's another reservoir in Mamelodi East. That reservoir can accommodate half of Mamelodi. And guess what? Those half of Mamelodi, majority of those houses are bond houses. Bond houses, they get water tankers. While the reservoir does not have issues, there's no blockage. If indeed they've serviced those reservoirs, why aren't they pumping well? Why aren't they giving enough water so that we can reuse the water tankers that we have? Instead, we're increasing and we're putting the budget based on water rank. It's a total misleading to the community.
Yeah, Bongani, thank you for your time and for those insights, really, that talk to someone who's active in that space and can speak about some of the concerns that they have as activists. That's Bongani Ramonja, who is leader of the Soil of Africa civic movement. In fact, echoing what Bongani is saying, someone says on WhatsApp here, how many pipes could be fixed with 700 million rand? Let me tell you, we did invite the city of Tshwane. They've not been able to speak to us, but we understand that they will be having a media briefing to address these concerns, and then later on, perhaps they will be able to talk to us on the show.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning, capital city Pretoria. First up, some unusual delays around the Hatfield area, or bound for Hatfield. Stanza-Bow Poppy, lights at Gordon Road not working. So if you're coming from the north, driving south, or coming in, driving into Pretoria, arriving into Hatfield, that's quite a heavy backlog. N1 south to Buerta Avenue, quite slow as well today. Joburg, the N12 from Pitfontein through Benoni to Boksburg, busy but easing pretty quickly. The Mike 1 from Boysons up to around Glenhove Road this morning is under a bit of pressure. And now some delays if you're a Santon bound today. A little bit of an operation around Winnie Mandela and Republic Roads. In from Bryanston, across from Randburg, extra pressure. And just generally on a Wednesday, there's a lot of traffic coming into Santon, whether you're coming in off the Mike 1 highway or along Greyston or coming through Morningside. It's just generally a busier day to be heading for the office in central Santon. Durban to Pietermaritzburg, stationary truck still with us at Cliffdale. In fact, there are two, so quite heavy from just after Shongweni. You line up again through Key Ridge and up towards that Cliffdale area. The N2 North is under pressure as well. A crash at Umgeda Road. N2 backed up from the M7. And once you get through that, you're pretty much into traffic again up through Queen Nadi Drive and through Kumashi up to a breakdown in the roadworks before Gateway. So if you're heading from Toti through to the north, particularly for flight connections, make sure you've got plenty of time to get through. M4 is pretty heavy as an alternative route as well. That's the Ruth First Highway. Cape Town crash on the R300 going south between Van Riebeeck Road and Stellenbosch Arterial. Heavy backlog both directions there, and a crash scene on the N2 driving into Cape Town by Meway at Khayelitsha. That's pushing a heavy queue back as far as Baden-Powell Drive. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Let's rewind 6 years, when Twitter was still Twitter, and not a letter of the alphabet. TikTok was simply the sound your clock made. And Zoom just meant enlarging a picture. So it makes you wonder, what will the next 6 years bring? Hino trucks now come standard with a 6-year drivetrain warranty, covering everything from pistons to gears. So although a lot can change in 6 years, our warranty promise won't. T's and C's apply. Hino, all the way.
Time. When you're a kid, it moves slower than a sloth trying to get through airport security. There is just so much of it. Skip forward a few years to your 20s. Time is still your friend. It says have some balance. Go party and have fun. Then your 30s hit. And time suddenly steps on the accelerator like it's trying to catch a traffic light before it goes red. 40s. Now time is moving faster than your 10-year-old on a sugar high. 50. You're desperately trying to save as much as you can, but time is moving so fast. And all you can think is, where did all the time go? That's why after 50 years of investing, we've learned that time is the greatest gift of all. And the good news is, if you invest early, time gives you money, and then money gives you more time for some much-deserved you time. Now, isn't that a compelling enough reason to invest? Ellen Gray, long-term investing. Ellen Gray is an authorized FSP.
This is Lungi on any other regular day.
This economy makes me post once a day. Who does that? Like, ew.
Now this is Lungi getting extra with the 20 gig summer deal for just 99 Rand.
I have so many gigs. I could even have a gig, guys. I'm going live every single day to me because get
Extra your summer. Get 20 gigs plus 2 months free YouTube Premium and 100 Vodabucks. Exclusively on the Vodapay app. T's and C's apply. Further together. Vodacom.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
All right, let me take a call from Faisal in the Eastern Cape. Good morning to you, Faisal. Corruption in the country. Hold on for me a second, Faisal. There's something I need to do this side. All right, let me see if I can. Faisal? Yeah, I've got you now. Please go ahead.
Yes. I want to ask Gunjan.
Right, Gunjan.
Right, stop to Thulas. You know what?
Yes.
No doubt, in South Africa, there's a problem with the government. But this problem, Thulas, is a society problem. Most South Africa, the crime means nothing. Anybody can do anything, not only the government. But on the government side, Thulas, you must also remember, whatever it is, at least there are ways and mechanisms to try to stop the rot, you see. But what is happening in South Africa, look at many people to us, even small children, what people are doing to us. I don't know your side from Mpumalanga, but in our side, many people, there's a car accident. People come, they don't know what about the injured people and dead bodies.
Yeah.
They split the car and take everything out of the car. So I'm just saying to us, look, even this Kevin Rafedi, he was a man speaking with a bold about the crime issues where he's gone.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Look at even Mr. Malema. He could not answer the magistrate in East London in the court. Today is a champion and targeting this meeting. So I'm not saying that I'm through it. I think this business, not my business. But I'm saying that to us, it's also very, very important. We have to try also to correct ourselves.
Yeah.
We want to correct the government, but not what about our society? Today, sad news this morning to us in Cape Town. Small boys and these children. It's not the children, the society where they come from. They bless that poor boy with the gold sticks, on the bed. So our society will also have to correct ourselves and change our society.
Faisal, thank you.
Things.
Thank you for making that point. Nothing to add to it at all. You're absolutely spot on. A fair amount of self-introspection needed by all of us as a society, more than just pointing a finger at the government. Sandile in Gqeberha, good morning.
The person is high, my friend. Yes, the guy who was just speaking. It's the same situation all around with us. You are in Mpumalanga, you are in the Eastern Cape, you go to in Western Cape land. This gang violence issue is all linked, systematic. What's this guy? Those guys are gangsters, but they're gangsters in nice uniforms. Gangsters are so we vary. Some of us carry guns, some of us carry books, and it's all happening. Africa. Stand up, Africa. Come on, sir.
Yeah.
People are unemployed. People are not working. When that kid goes out and robs somebody, we ate that day and we were full. That kid has got to go out again and he's got to find a way.
Sure.
It's but
really
this is the South Africa that we've got.
Yeah.
And it's all of us. I promise you, in the next 5 calls that you're going to receive, watch the very same story come out. We're preaching the same thing, Dagaba.
Yeah. All right, Sandile. Thank you for raising it. I can sense the pain and anguish that you carry in your spirit. It comes through in your voice, your concern, rightly so, for our country, as we all are concerned about some of these phenomena that we report on almost on a daily basis. Let's go to N. Musa on standby with the latest news.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In our top stories, new witness to testify at Madlanga Commission and Portfolio Committee recommends Fort Hare be placed under administration. Good morning. A witness known only as Witness B will take to the stand at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry this morning. The commission is probing allegations of criminality, corruption and political interference in the criminal justice system. The witness is expected to validate Witness A's evidence. Witness A informed the Commission how Witness B will testify about how they both came to know that alleged cartel member and murder accused Katiso Katie Molefe would receive bail. Molefe has been charged of various murders, including that of Vereniging engineer Armin Swart, which has been at the center of his testimony. Sibahle Mota reports.
Witness A claims that Katiso Katie Molefe, who has been implicated in the Swart murder, paid a staggering 2.5 million rands to secure his release on bail. Witness A further alleges that he and Witness B were informed that Molefe would be released on bail before he even made his court appearance. Earlier this week, Witness A also testified how Warrant Officer Bule Dau, who has also been charged alongside Molefe and others on Swart's murder, was also granted bail. He told the commission that he was informed of Dau's release by Evusi Ndlala.
EFF leader Julius Malema has questioned Police Minister Senzo Mchunu for soliciting an affidavit from attempted murder accused Vusimuzi Kat Matlala. Mkunu, who was placed on special leave, appeared before Parliament's ad hoc committee looking into allegations of criminal infiltration, corruption and political interference in the criminal justice system made by the KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. The committee heard that Mkunu obtained an affidavit from Matlala, who faces attempted murder charges, to confirm that they have no relations. But Malema questioned why Mkunu felt the need to get the confirmation from someone who's behind bars.
Yeah, but who you get affidavits from is very important. You don't just get affidavit from questionable characters, especially people who are behind bars. That as a minister of police, even if there's nothing legally wrong, you should just know it might raise certain questions, which gave this situation we find ourselves in. Had you not solicited anything from Matlala, was in maximum prison where it should be difficult to access him.
Civil society organisation One for South Africa has lamented the violence in Westbury, which it says has become a norm. This after a shooting incident yesterday that claimed the lives of 2 youths with 5 others wounded. The incident occurred when 4 armed suspects opened fire on a group of 7 young people outside a house. The victims, aged between 14 and 19, were rushed to hospital, with 2 pronounced dead on arrival. The motive behind the shooting is still unclear, One Force SA founder Eugene Dooms.
It's a sad situation what's taking place in our area, and we've become quite, I wouldn't say accustomed to it, but it's become like a norm and a culture which is getting out of hand amongst our youth. Because of our location, Westbury has become like a melting pot for all illegal activities, and it seems like we on our own in terms of dealing with the situation, because law enforcement is not doing much to help curb the situation. So it's a real sad state of affairs for us.
Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Higher Education says it will recommend that the Higher Education Minister, Phuthi Manamela, place the University of Fort Hare in the Eastern Cape under administration. The committee expressed dissatisfaction with the state of the university's affairs following weeks of unrest. The visit follows student protests that caused extensive damage to the university's property. Committee Chairperson Tebogo Litsie.
That is why, members of the committee would have said the only thing here that they think will work is for us to ask the minister to evoke Section 43 and 44 of the Higher Education Act by putting in an independent assessor to investigate all of these things that we're talking about, and then hopefully get to a decision that will bring in a stability through an administration.
And finally, at least 30 people are reported to have been killed in a fuel tanker explosion in Nigeria. The vehicle spilled petrol, which ignited after the crash at the central Niger state. The locals reportedly rushed out to scoop up the fuel, leading to their death at the site of the explosion. The BBC's Chris Owoko has the details.
Reports indicate that the tanker transporting petrol from Lagos in southern Nigeria to the northern part of the country skidded off the road and crashed. Officials from Nigeria's Emergency Management Agency told the BBC that they were responding to the incident but were unable to confirm the number of people affected. Local reports suggest that about 30 people have been killed, while 40 more sustained varying degrees of injuries.
Recapping the top story, a witness known only as Witness B will take to the stand at the Matlanga Commission of Inquiry this morning. For SFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
55-year-old Stefan isn't one to waste money, and his car insurance premium with Outsurance proves it. For his 2024 Suzuki Jimny, he now pays only 611 Rand a month, and Outsurance made a 57-year-old Sabina feel like a winner in her 2024 Mercedes-Benz GLA with a low premium of only 1,276 a month. Ready to get more out of your car insurance? SMS out to 30754 today. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer, and FSP. T's, C's, and information online.
It's a very good morning to you in your SFM Sports Headlines. Cricket action underway with the Proteas under pressure as Afridi takes 5 in the Rawalpindi test. And in soccer news, Kaizer Chiefs midfielder Pulemode says he's ready to dig deep as the Glamour Boys turn their attention to domestic action. All the details just before 8:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Started off in Pretoria with some heavy backlogs into Hatfield. Now, the traffic lights on Stanza, Papi and Gordon Road are down. So if you're coming in from the Queenswood area or coming across from sort of Kilnerton in from that side, it's all very heavily backed up into that Hatfield area. A lot of traffic. There might be more traffic lights down than that Gordon and Stanza, Papi. N14, the Ben Schumann up towards Eupheus Road on your way to Pretoria. Quite a heavy backlog built up on that route through as well. The N1 South, not too bad for a midweek Wednesday. Old Joburg Road down to New Road, a bit slow. A lot of traffic coming into Sandton, particularly along Winnie Mandela and Republic Road. Those routes into that junction on the Hurlingham side of Sandton, very heavy. You might want to give yourself plenty of time to get through that. Durban's N2 North struggling with this earlier crash going up towards Mgeta Road. That is now being cleared, but it's back traffic up from the M7 through to Westwood Mall. And then you've got a breakdown. In fact, it's now a crash further up just after Kumashu Highway. So that's your second queue heading north towards the airport. The M4 around Virginia Airport's heavy both ways. And the stationary truck at Cliffdale still with us. Big queues just after Shongweni. Cape Town, R300, a pedestrian collision. It's a fatal one, unfortunately, between Van Riebeek Road and Stellenbosch Arterial. Equally heavy southbound into that and northbound having a look. And a crash at Khayelitsha on the N2 inbound, causing delays coming through from Baden Powell towards Meway and backing traffic on the outbound as well. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
8:10 on this Wednesday. It's great to be in your company. Welcome to it, the third hour of the Morning Brief here on SAFM 104 to 107. I want to prioritize your voice notes, so let me quickly run through some of the messages that have come through. Nico says, could the migration of US dollar millionaires be as well due to majority of them preparing for retirement? It would be interesting to know their age groups, asks Nico there. I think that's a valid point, Nico. I do imagine that features in the equation of why some of them will be moving away from bustling, cities to your Cape Winelands and the likes as they prepare to go into retirement. It's certainly something that makes a lot of sense. Then someone else says, are we really using a sample of 50 people to gauge the level of frustration of service delivery and functioning of municipalities with regard to basic services? And the answer, my sense of that is, it's not a measure that you can easily throw out and say it doesn't count. It's not the measure, obviously, but it's something that you're talking about, a demographic of people who have a choice, right? And if they are making that choice, and when surveyed, they then say, this is part of what I considered. I considered that I just want to live in a city where I have water. I just want to live in a city where the electricity is always available, or whatever, I'm not being billed crazily and I don't have to drive over potholes and the likes. Traffic lights are working. If they are saying that, these are the people who have a choice. That doesn't discount the voice of those of us who don't really have a choice but to live where we live, right? But it is certainly a measure where people have a choice and they choose you and they choose to stay in your city. It says a lot about, their satisfaction levels with the services you provide. I don't know if I'm making sense, but yeah, I do think that it's valuable. In addition, complementing what is being said by the masses who don't have the choice to, move willy-nilly. Someone else here, it's Hlati. Hlati says, I watched elders who are also grandfathers turning and tossing in their seats at the commission and the ad hoc committee, and I sometimes cannot look. I propose restricted viewing or hearing for children to protect their young minds. Shati says, these lies by fathers are not good for the children. Thanks, says Shati there. Interesting take to it all. Shati saying, watching grown-ups lying on national TV is just not good for children. And Shati proposing that perhaps we restrict the access of young ones so that we don't pollute them, their minds with lies. I'm not laughing. Then someone else here says, and I want to respond to this as best as I can. This person says, I fail to understand why you are not asking City of Tshwane officers on the spend. This is the water tanker spending. This creates the impression that what these people, the activists that we spoke to, what these people are saying are facts. Your job was meant to be to check what was the budget based on last year. The guy is not giving insights but politics. If you cannot get Tshwane, then rather not do the story. So here's what my response is. This is the story that the News 24 investigation has revealed about the 777 million rand expenditure in water tankers. The expenditure from last year was 140 million rand. So that answers that one part, comparing with last year. Secondly, we did ask for the City of Tshwane to speak to us. The explanation that they gave is that they are going to have a media briefing and then later on they may speak to us. Just because a conversation hasn't happened yet doesn't mean that it will not happen. Naturally, when a story like this comes out, your first point of call is to go to the officials who should be accounting for it. But they're not always readily available. So what do we do then? Does it stop being a conversation of concern, certainly for ratepayers in cities like Tshwane? It doesn't. There'll be many people who are concerned about it. You will have seen political parties reacting to it, civil society reacting to it, and rightly so, because it is concerning. You're talking nearly R1 billion in expenditure on water tankers. We can't just say because City of Tshwane, Lindela Mashiko, or Mayor Nasipi Moya and the likes are not available and therefore the conversation is dead. If we did that, that would be a surefire way of frustrating us. They would just simply not avail themselves. Sometimes amplifying the story piles on the pressure such that eventually people see that we do need to account for that story. So I respectfully differ with your view that we should have left the story until we got the City of Tshwane to talk to us. We will get them at some other point. All right? Do call me 086 000 2032 or send me a WhatsApp voice note 0614 104 107. Let's get into it. The third hour of the morning brief.
Call Thulasizwe now 086 000 2032.
Tulas, good morning. Brad from Pietermaritzburg. Interesting topic, especially, I think, with Helen Zille throwing her hat in the ring. The reality of the matter is Cape Town's the top destination for the millionaires. They've got something. And what is that something? Is it something that the DA and Helen Zille have created? And will she have the fight and the ability to perhaps put Joburg back on track and make Joburg the next place to be? Let's hope so, for the sake of South Africa. Brad Maritzburg.
Brad, thank you for that. I can imagine that it doesn't hurt political campaigning when you get these stats. But I do suspect that the point that one of the messages was making about the importance of the voice of the what's that? The ones who don't fall within the top 1%. The rest of the people, I guess you want it to resonate more. But certainly, I agree with you. I do foresee that it doesn't hurt to bolster your political campaign message by saying, by the way, even those who have a choice actually choose my city to come and live there.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. Just a stupid question for you this morning. Is it only Malema who asked a question in yesterday's gathering? Or is it promoting Malema and disregarding other members of the ad hoc committee?
Sure.
Kabedi,
thank you for that. I get the point. I get the question you are asking. Until I've watched yesterday's session in full, I'm not able to give you an answer. But the sense that I get is that there are different styles of questioning, and Julius Malema has brought his style to it. And that style has been, in fact, he even foreshadowed it and said, when the evidence leader was still asking questions, he assured the minister and said, "Don't worry, proper questions are coming." So you sort of, it's about also how you position yourself such that the questions that you ask coincide with the questions that most people will have foremost in mind, and how hard do you press when you feel that the question is not being answered. I guarantee you, in any context, any news media context, if you do that, you are likely to get the coverage. You are likely to dominate the coverage. Whereas if you ask a question and the question is clearly not answered and you move on to the next question, and sometimes we battle to hear what exactly is your question, then I don't know if you get what I'm saying. It's also about how you position yourself and how you frame your questions that will then garner the kind of coverage. Because from those responses comes a story for the media. So I don't know. Look, I can't speak for all newsrooms, but I don't know if there's an agenda to promote and quote only the questions that were asked by Julius Malema. Thulasizwe in the Val, good morning.
Good morning. How are we?
Very well. How are you? Please go ahead.
Very well. No, I'm just reacting to the listener that said, "Why are you breaking the City of Tshwane story?" The unfortunate part is you actually did introduce it earlier, and you said City of Tshwane has said they are doing a press conference to address the story.
Yes.
So maybe the listener was not paying attention earlier, or they tuned in later, but I'm just reflecting on how it's so difficult to win with human beings. If you ignore the story, then you've got residents for City of Tshwane who are saying, "But why is our plight being ignored?" And then you have somebody who is probably not even affected by the story saying, "Why are you breaking the story?" And you are correct. I mean, if we are not putting pressure on the government to say, "Listen, you need to account to us. What are you doing with our money?" Who is going to do it?
Absolutely.
Who is going to stand up for the citizens? But no, we cannot. We've been treating our government with kid gloves for far too long. The normal conversation among the communities that we are just not angry enough as South Africans. We truly are not. The government has literally drilled in that we have to be dependent on them. And I personally believe this is what makes the suffering just carry on, because somebody believes if I stand up to the government, I'm not going to get a social grant. If I stand up to the government, my children are not going to get NSFAS, which is very sad. It's absolutely sad. But yes, no, you're doing a good job.
Thank you.
That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you for that, Thulasizwe. You're absolutely spot on. I can't add anything. And by the way, no offense taken to that question that was asked about why we're raising that story. I guess the point needed to be emphasized to say, if we only spoke when we finally got the officials on the airwaves, some conversations would never have happened, because it would simply, in fact, I know for a fact that some wielders of power in society do believe that just ignore it, don't comment, it will go away. And if we played into that, imagine what would happen in matters of governance. Anda in Cape Town, good morning.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. First time caller on your show.
What have you been waiting for? What have you been waiting for?
I will tell you this, that I've called before.
Yes.
But when they call back, I'm either doing something else or I'm in the shower.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, no. Look, I wanted to chip in on this Senzo Mkhulu debacle. And I was watching the proceedings. And, the Senzo Mkhulu is very evasive, right? Doesn't answer questions. And in instances where he's supposed to concede a point that follows logic, he doesn't, right? Asks a simple question, he goes on a long-winded answer that is not relevant to the question. And I wish that, there were lawyers that were involved in the I don't want to say it's cross-examination, it's just examination of Senzo Mkhulu, because there are certain things that I'm just not happy about with, the kind of questions that are coming through.
Yeah.
For instance, you look at Malema's questioning yesterday, at least insofar as I watched portions of it. He makes long-winded statements before asking a question. So for me, it's like that becomes then ineffective in the sense that the witness now is firstly is not going to be able to answer properly because there's just too many things that you're saying. But the corruption, I just want to say to us, the corruption is rampant in South Africa. It is just so much, especially in Gauteng. Corruption from the lowest, to the highest echelons in certain departments.
And
I just wanted to chip in on that.
Yeah, thank you so much for making that point. Do call again. That's Anda out in Cape Town. And I think the point that he makes about the style of questioning is really important. The answers being given by the person being questioned in these platforms is as important as the questions that they are being asked. And the sense to realize when your question has not been answered, especially with the new, what do they call it? Interpolation, is it? Yeah, I think they say it's interpolation, where it's no longer that old style of our parliament where you ask 17 questions and the person would just pick and choose which ones to answer at the end of it all. You ask a question, you answer now. That gives them more leeway to be able to say, I've got 15 minutes allocated. I will not stop until all my questions are answered. Thank you for that. I'll come back to your calls and WhatsApp voice notes a bit later on.
Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk.
So the Judicial Conduct Tribunal has reconvened to hear oral arguments in the landmark sexual harassment case involving Eastern Cape Judge President Selbin Benenge and Judges Secretary Andiswa Mengo. The proceedings have brought to light troubling allegations of abuse of power and workplace misconduct at the highest levels of the judiciary. Central to the case is the power imbalance between the accused and the complainant, which Mengo's legal team argues was systematically exploited over nearly a year of persistent and unwanted advances. Let's say good morning to Mbegezeli Benjamin, Research and Advocacy Officer of Judges Matter. Good morning to you, Mbegezeli, and thank you for your time. So how would you sum up the closing arguments that we've heard in the Judicial Conduct Tribunal? I imagine that the evidence leader, as well as the lawyers representing and assisting Andiswa Mengo, had a lot to say about the power dynamics.
Good morning to the system and good morning to the listeners. Yes, you're quite right. The lawyers for the complainant in particular were very strong to emphasize the power dynamics that was at play.
Mbegezeli? Oh, I don't know what happened there. We seem to have lost Mbegezeli Benjamin just as he was getting into making the point and just reflecting on some of the arguments that were presented by people such as Advocate Nazreen Rajab Badlander, SC, representing Andiswa Mengo. And Mbegezeli was going, Mbegezeli, I believe we have you back on the line. Pick up where you left off. You were making the point about the lawyers for the complainant and the points they were making about the power imbalances.
Yes, they were emphasizing that the power imbalance between them meant that Ms. Mengo couldn't do much to resist the advances of the judge president. And in particular, in as much as it's not a formal employment relationship, in that the judge president was not necessarily the boss or the employer of Ms. Mengo, but the circumstances of the workplace were such that he had power over her experience in the workplace. A word from him could have meant trouble for her at work. And so that is something that they debated quite a lot with the panel, because Judge Nwebe, who's the presiding judge in the tribunal, kept emphasizing that there are areas where a woman can exercise power in some way, and so it can really be said that she was entirely powerless. And essentially he was making the point that she could have resisted his advances if she wanted to, but seemed to participate in the conversation, and that was something that the lawyers for Ms. Mengo did concede.
And Mbegezeli, we've also been hearing from the evidence leader, Advocate Salome Skeepers, describing the testimony of the judge president as being improbable. But talk to me a bit more about what she called grooming behavior.
Yes, so the evidence leader, Advocate Skeppers, was saying that if you look at the WhatsApp messages that were laid before the tribunal, there wasn't a point where Ms. Mengo would initiate the conversations. It was always the judge president who initiated the conversations, and they tended to be sexual very quickly. From the very first day, in fact, that the conversation started, he was already asking for a picture. And also, Advocate Skeppers made the point that it was Judge Mbenenge's texts that were deleted and not Ms. Mengo's. And so that should be read in the negative. The negative inference should be drawn against him, that he denies that certain things took place, but his texts are deleted. And so the point that she was making was that over a period of time, he was persistent, and in as much as the legal definition of sexual harassment can include only one incident, but the fact that he was persistent, it did show a pattern of sexual harassment on his part.
And on the side of the judge president, his lawyers arguing that, and they've been consistent, haven't they, that this was a consensual relationship?
Yes, so Advocate Kakane for the judge president emphasized that the conversation between them was, from a moral perspective, probably unacceptable, but it certainly does not meet the legal standard or the definition of sexual harassment because it was consensual. There were parts in which she was engaged in the conversation, even though it was lewd and it was sexual, but she was engaging in it. And it also to undermine the point that the advocate, the evidence leader was making, that she was reacting to the conversation as was led by the judge president, and it was a reaction based on helplessness of not being able to do anything else to deter the judge president. And so she participated in the conversation, including on conversations about money, because she said she knows that if you mention money, it will chase away a man who's pursuing you. So that was the argument that Advocate Kakane was saying, that she actually actively engaged, and it was a consensual relationship between them, and so it doesn't fit the standard of sexual harassment. And the other point he made is that sexual harassment is very narrowly defined, and the case is not about the broader definition of judicial conduct in this case.
All right, Mbegazeli, thank you for keeping us up to speed. That's Mbegazeli Benjamin, Research and Advocacy Officer at Judges Matter. We'll go to Zai in a moment, but let's start with N. Musa with the latest news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to us. In the headlines, Police Minister Senzo Mchunu is back before Parliament's ad hoc committee today. The committee is looking into allegations of criminal infiltration, corruption and political interference in the justice system made by the KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. A witness known only as Witness B will take to the stand at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry this morning. The witness is expected to validate Witness A's evidence. And the International Court of Justice is set to deliver a landmark opinion examining Israel's legal obligations towards UN agencies operating in the occupied Palestinian territories. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Hey Zai, good morning to you. Talk to me about the Proteas. You're saying that they are under pressure. Ibra Afridi has taken 5 in Rawalpindi, yeah?
Oh yeah, Thulas. It's turning out to be that rumble in the jungle there at the moment because Proteas trailing Pakistan 98 runs in the second test in Rawalpindi. Proteas are 235 for 8 in their first innings after Pakistan's 333 all out. Sunuran Muthusamy is holding on with 27 not out alongside Keshav Maharaj, while Anwar Afridi has done the damage with figures of 5 for 42. Pakistan lead the series 1-0 and the Proteas have plenty of work ahead to stay in this contest. In the meantime, the Proteas women are riding waves of confidence at the ICC Women's World Cup. They thrashed Pakistan by 150 runs in Colombo, All-rounder Marizanne Kapp was again outstanding with 68 runs and 3 wickets for 20, but she was quick to praise teammate Nadine de Klerk.
Yeah, look, we've always known Nades is very talented. I've always rated her. I've always said she's a very good batting all-rounder. I feel like the past few years it's been more bowling, and it seems like this year her batting is really clicking. So that's exciting times for us as a team. I feel like, again, different people picking up their hands.
Let's go to soccer, where Kaizer Chiefs midfielder Pule Modi says he's ready to dig deep as the Glamour Boys turn their attention to domestic action. Chiefs face Siwelele FC at the FNB Stadium tonight after their goalless draw in continental competition. Despite Siwelele sitting near the bottom of the table, Modi expects a tough encounter. Kickoff is at 7:30 p.m. Also at the same time, Orlando Pirates will welcome Polokwane City to Orlando Stadium in Soweto, while down in Cape Town, Stellenbosch FC face Golden Arrows at the Athlone Stadium as the race for points in the Betway Premiership continues to heat up. And finally, SA weightlifter Annika Spiesberger says she's determined to strike a balance between motherhood and her pursuit of qualification for next year's Commonwealth Games in Glasgow. Her seasoned lifter recently returned from the World Championships in Norway, where she competed just 12 weeks after giving birth to her daughter, Bailey.
I'm happy to call it quits. I love the sports, but I mean, next year I'm 33. I still want to grow my family eventually, and so I think the weightlifting takes a lot of your time. It takes a lot of money because you have to pay for the comps. So I'd rather just go back to CrossFit, maybe do a high rocks just for the fun of it. Still keep training, of course, but I will be done with the competing and lifting.
And that's it. We've got some heavy metal lifting with John Herika. More sport on SAFM around 12:30. I'm Zai Khan.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Volume is still noticeably a little bit lighter than you might be expecting on a Wednesday morning across Gauteng, but there are some delays. The Mike 1 from Beclude down through Woodmead towards Corlett Drive is quite heavy. The N3 North jammed from Edenvale up towards Beclude into the roadworks there. They are your two really big sort of standout highway delays. Crash going out of Pretoria on the M1 North before John Foster. Delays going to be asked to sit in the N14 this morning. The Ben Skippen Highway up to Euthius Road if you're on your way to Pretoria. And a lot of congestion around Hatfield with traffic light problems this morning. If you're inbound towards Hatfield, it is dreadfully slow. Durban crash and a breakdown on the N2 between Komashu and Gateway, still very heavy. There's also now been another crash. We've got a crash before Queen Nandi, a breakdown after Komashu, and then a crash before Gateway, just north of Umgeni Road, all the way through to a point just before Gateway is a really heavy queue. Still dealing with an earlier crash on Cliffdale. Well, the result of that, the crash is being cleared. There was a truck broken down, then a crash. That's now being cleared, but it's heavy from Shongweni as you get up Key Ridge on your way slowly towards Pietermaritzburg. Cape Town, a collision on the N2 at Muway in front of Khayelitsha. Heavy both ways, and a crash going south on the R300 before Stellenbosch Arterial. Still barking traffic back from Van Riebeeck Road. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Good morning to you once again in Dowling. Talk to me about Coca-Cola HBC.
Yes.
Not that I knew who Coca-Cola HBC. I know Coca-Cola, but Coca-Cola HBC. Who are they? And tell me about them eyeing a listing in South Africa.
So Coca-Cola HBC is a strategic partner of Coca-Cola, the main group. It's a bottling company, which is a manufacturer and distributor of Coca-Cola brands. Now, the group says its planned secondary listing on the JSE highlights its long-term commitment to South Africa, and this comes as it moves ahead with a 59 billion rand deal to acquire a 75% stake in Coca-Cola Beverages Africa. Now, the HBC group described the deal as a growth opportunity and says the listing reflects South Africa's central role in the group's African growth plans. Coca-Cola HBC, which operates in 29 countries and employs about 33,000 people, will become the world's second largest Coca-Cola bottler by volume once the deal closes. Now, the transaction still requires competition approval, where regulators will check if any job losses will be affected, especially after we heard of that announcement of around 600 people being let go at Coca-Cola Beverages Africa. Now, the London and Athens listed group expects the acquisition to boost earnings from the first full year after completion next year. Coca-Cola Beverages Africa employs about 14,000 people across 14 African markets, including 7,000 in SA. This announcement, of course, as mentioned, comes after the group warned that up to 680 roles could be affected by organizational changes. It has since calmed investors' nerves, saying it's eyeing growth and not restructuring.
And a three-letter acronym that I do know, TFG.
Yes.
The Foschini Group. Tell me about them flagging earnings and earnings decline.
So the retailer has warned that deep winter markdowns and weak consumer spending have squeezed profit margins, with earnings expected to drop by as much as 25%. TFG said group turnover rose 12.7%. Discount-driven clearance activity weighed heavily on margins, though, with earnings before interest and tax in the Africa division down almost 10%. SA sales also slowed as household budgets tightened. Margins in its local unit fell nearly 10%, while inflation and store rollout costs drove expenses ahead of sales. Over in Australia, the group still was really struggling, with earnings there down 18%. However, the UK brand White Stuff continued to outperform. The market's really disappointed with that outdate, which resulted in its share price closing in the red, down 15% in yesterday's session, erasing about 6 billion rands in market value and leaving the stock down nearly a third of over a third over the past year.
All right, lastly, Ndauling, round off everything you've told us this morning and set the scene for us for the kind of trading day we can expect today.
Local markets are in for a mixed start to us following a choppy performance on the international front. Investors here at home will be looking out for Debonaire's owner Famous Brands results and inflation data for September. Ahead of those numbers, the rand still trading near 17.40 to the greenback. Then over in commodities, oil making a bit of a comeback after days of declines. Brent is up 1.7%. Trading above $62 per barrel. Back to equities, American traders eyeing inflation data as well, which is delayed on the back of the U.S. government shutdown. Those numbers out on Friday. Now, ahead of the print, the data, or rather ahead of the print, futures are in the green. Lastly, in Asia, markets are on track to close mixed as investors digest trade numbers out of Japan. While exports rose for the first time in 5 months, they fell short of market forecasts, fueling a bit of volatility in that region.
All right, thank you for that, Ndauling. Ndauling Lechala has kept you updated over the last 3 hours on all things to do with the economy, the movements of your money or other people's money. That's been Ndauling's updates the last 3 hours.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
Straight to your calls. And I do want to start here, because Nat, some people could not pronounce Nkandla properly. They've now learned Nkandla.
Yes, Nkandla.
Nkandla. Good morning.
Thank you, Thulasizwe. No, I just want to comment about some of your producers in SAFM, and since we are listening attentively to this ad hoc committee and that state capture commission.
Yes.
The problem, what happens when you are about to go to the news, they just sometimes there is a critical question which is being put. They just stop it. They cut it on the way.
Yeah.
And then even after the news, they don't even come and explain us what has happened. But now they just stop it immediately. For example, yesterday it happened at 15 hours when Astra was going to come in. They just stop it.
Yeah.
Now this because this will leave us because we are paying a lot of attention to this one.
Gotcha.
So in our area in Canada, we call it ubunungu.
Yeah,
Yes,
clumsy. It's clumsy.
That's how we are. Yes, we are paying a lot of attention. It shows that some producers, they are not. Yes, they might be doing some other things that they are not paying attention or not listening.
No, I hear you. Kosinathi, thank you for making that point. The only thing I can say in response, not to be defensive or anything like that, the news on radio is a tough taskmaster. The news must happen when the news must happen. I can quickly just share with you, I get into a lot of trouble for obvious reasons. My bosses will be listening, so I won't say, I will not admit to doing anything wrong, but all I'm saying, Kosinathi, is that the news is a tough taskmaster. It must happen when it must happen. And I do appreciate the inconvenience that it causes to you when, we cut abruptly and go straight to the news. Simpiwe in Cape Town, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Thulas. How are you?
Very well, how are you? Please go ahead.
Good man. Thulas, yeah. Hey, there's a lot of things that I would love to talk about. But busy. South Africa is at the crossroad, brother. You know, it's so painful, Thulas. I'm working in the system of the state.
Yeah.
And in one of the procurement entities and so forth. Things are happening, brother, and the staff could see these things happening, manipulation and everything, but people are being victimized, people are being chased out of this system at all costs. People's life are being destroyed. Because the moment you start questioning, you are being isolated and branded in such a way that other people would see as a difficult person, whereas the policies and all the prescripts are there guiding us. So it's so sad, brother, whereby like in one of the departments now that it was on the media, whereby 300 million was paid to bogus service provider. It happened in a way whereby the entity would pay the right service provider, but somehow the system is being manipulated, whereby the money goes to a different account. 300 million was reported to have been stolen. We haven't heard anything in terms of update what is happening. So it's a kind of a very sad thing. Look at the issue of the laptops in Mpumalanga. Those 20 laptops for 2 million. It's very sad, brother. But you are the last hope. Media, you are the last hope. But we need protection. We need protection.
Absolutely. Simpiwe, thank you very much. Please do stay on the line. We'd like to just take your details so that maybe we can keep in touch and see how we can work together going forward for the good of the country, really. Because at the end of the day, that's what it must come down to, doesn't it? Thabo in Harrismith, good morning.
Thulas, good morning, man. How are you?
Very well. Have you got the money? Have you been paid? Those 3 letters, nothing. Have they paid you? Rough.
Nothing, bruh. But now I'm so surprised to hear that our money is going to pay people from outside our country. How fair is that, Thulas? How fair is that? Look now, that money, there are places in our country whereby still we don't have water, we don't have houses, we don't have nothing. Look, last couple of days back now, our school were complaining about money that they were supposed to get from NEPSAS. Nothing. But now, they want to take our money to go to pay people from outside who have been here illegally. Mr. Thulas, can you call Mr. Mkwanazi? Sometimes Mr. Mkwanazi, when he talks something, his voices maybe they can hear it.
People listen to it more.
They can listen to Mr. Mkwanazi. I think maybe if he can come and rescue us in South Africa, we are in danger. Thulas, please,
Thabo,
please.
Thank
That's not
you
right.
for raising that point. Of
Thank
course,
you.
the point that Thabo raises is an ongoing debate about the provisions of the Road Accident Fund Act that currently don't preclude the fund from paying out compensation for accidents that involve non-South Africans. I've seen that debate is amplifying, but as things stand, nothing stops the fund from paying out to non-South Africans, and a lot of the claimants are actually non-South Africans. But it's an ongoing debate, and that's what Thabo was weighing in on. Let me go to Oscar in Tsakani. Good morning to you, Oscar.
Good morning, Thulas, and how are you?
Very well, how are you?
I'm fine. Yes, my name is Mfana Futhi. The nickname is Oscar Jazz.
Oscar Jazz.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Mkhaya wakho ke
uyabona.
Albert Uthuli.
Perfect. Please go ahead.
Yes, I just want to add to this thing. When we are listening, I mean, to the listener who asked if Julius Malema was the only person that asked question yesterday. So now the trick is, are you asking the right question? As you said, I mean, how well do you articulate those questions? And also the hard-hitting questions. You remember, long time ago we had this program, or they called it what 30 questions, or
Yes.
but the lady was asking the question that nobody else would ask, so that you can get to the crux of the matter. So that is what Julius Malema is doing, and we like it. A case in point, Thulas, you remember the trial, the Oscar Pistorius trial.
Yes.
And then now we had this defendant lawyer and the plaintiff
Periru.
lawyer and Periru, and then we had, Herinel.
Yes.
And we were so excited. I mean, the exchange, the questions that were asked there,
Yeah.
I mean, they intrigue all of us.
Yeah.
So that's what we are talking about. So now, other members of the adult community, you can only tell that they are doing this for a publicity stunt. They are acting, and they want, and they are just wasting time instead of getting to the cause of the matter.
All right.
So that's
Oscar
what I wanted to,
smooth like
to add
jazz.
on.
Thank you for that. That's Oscar Jazz in Tsakani. And he's absolutely spot on. It's also about how you couch your questions and the pros and poise, right? Pros and poise. Poise in the sense that you also want to project yourself. Come on, let's not kid ourselves. South Africa is watching. You are a politician. You have an interest in people seeing you as someone who exacts accountability. In fact, in the United States, their legislators have made something of an art out of it, really. Sometimes they will come with people standing behind them with placards. As they raise a question, a placard goes up and they use aids to demonstrate. There's performance in this thing. Whether you like it or not, there is performance in this thing. And if you perform, and you perform very well to the point that people identify with the questions you are asking, you are going to garner a lot of interest and intrigue, as Oscar Jazz was describing there. Dumisani and Parks, don't go anywhere. I'll come back to you in a moment.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Just heavy traffic getting through the Crown interchange in central Joburg. It's crashed on the Mike 1 North near Empire, so queues back to Boyson's. And behind that, the M2 is now sitting from Joe Slovo Drive. Some problems getting off the M2 and into that Mike 1 North traffic. M3, pretty relentless. Back from Alex up to Beclu into the roadworks going north. Limbro Park down to Alex going south. And there's a bit of pressure on the M1 both ways around the William Mandela off-ramps. The N1 North coming in off the Krugersdorp Highway through Brockfontein. A crash before John Foster Drive, causing some delays. Durban's N2 North is all pretty much eased up after earlier crashes and breakdowns between them, Gedde Road and the Umhlanga exit. If you're on your way to the airport, it's looking a lot better now. There is a crash on the M4 at Virginia Airport, so that's quite heavy, particularly Umhlanga bound, but also Durban bound. And Keyridge still queuing as you make your way very slowly up towards the Cliffdale area. That's also been a broken down truck and a crash, and then another broken down truck this morning. Cape Town R300, fatal pedestrian crash before Stellenbosch arterial going south. Traffic remains slow just through from the sort of Van Riebeeck exit. Stellenbosch arterial road itself at the R300. This Some very unusual backlogging going on there. And a busy midweek Wednesday for N1 traffic, still sitting from Platte Cliff Hill all the way through to the city centre. Marine Drive still quite bad as well for this time of day if you're coming out of Tableview queues through Bayside right down to Sunset Beach. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
It's jam-packed with pressure on the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7:30 on SABC2 in the first elimination challenge as the contestants learn how to make their own jams and preserves from scratch. Who will spread the love and who will get themselves in a sticky situation? That's the Tastemaster Junior, Tuesday evenings at 7:30, repeat Wednesdays at 1 and Sundays at 4 p.m. only on SABC2.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
Tulas, good morning. I'm listening to the caller just now. I think when Julius Malema is asking this question, and he elaborates a little bit, it also gives me as a listener the opportunity to understand a little bit of what's going on. You know, like for example, he was asking and explaining this thing of IPID, and it made me think, how does the Minister of Police know what IPID is doing? And then this guy is saying IPID must come and answer.
Hi Tulas, hoping you're well this day. Tulas, yesterday watching these proceedings in Cape Town, I was highly impressed about the DA member, Dominic Klopel. I think he exposed Senzim. He really exposed. But at the same time, the IAP, Albert Mwango, was outstanding. That's a man that actually crashed Senzim good. Thanks to us.
All right, thank you for that. I haven't watched it to that point where you are, so I'll certainly be watching. I'm sort of slightly behind it. It all feels like a bit of a series that we are all watching, except, of course, we are all part of that series. It's our lived reality with real life implications for all of us. But I'll certainly be watching the session from yesterday. So I'm a day behind in terms of that. Let's speak to Dumisani out in Potchefstroom. Good morning to you.
Morning, Thulasizwe. How are you?
Very well. How are you? Please go ahead.
I'm fine, thank you. Thulasizwe, I got two things to. The one, I'm very disappointed, Thulasizwe, even to look at my family, because Thulasizwe, in my family, I was the one who's always encouraging not to take law in their own hands. There is the law agencies. And I always tell them I trust the system, so I believe in our police. But with all what is happening now, they are all watching and they are asking me, now, what are you saying about this? And that is one thing. I'm disappointed in the justice system and the Thulasizwe about the K team who leave a bail. The witness A yesterday mentioned that they knew he was going to get the bail before even the bail was granted.
Sure. Wow.
That continued. Will ever this thing be stopped? Thulasizwe, I don't think. It happened. There's a commission, there's other committee speaking about the same thing, and it's still happening in our court.
Not to rush you, Dumisani. Get to your second point for me, please.
My Thulasizwe, can you help me? We are business people here in my place, and we were funded by government. I think this is also a corruption. We were funded in 2023. This is the third year now we will be entering. We haven't received a thing to us. We got our contract. We were called on the Sunday, just 2 days before last year's election, to tell us that they had to do this before the election, so that and that. But up until today, to us, we don't know. We have tried every channel to say, to the minister.
Let me ask you to hold on so that we can take your details, so that you can give us a fuller picture, because we are pressed for time at the moment. So that's Dumisani in Potchefstroom. We'll take the details so that we understand that deal that he is talking about, the funding that he's talking about, and how it went south after they were approved for that funding, and see if there's something there for us to pursue. Parks in Cape Town, good morning.
Good morning, Thulas. Trust you are well.
Very well. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, Thulas. With the state of both the ad hoc committee for this Mkhwanazi debacle and also the Madala Commission.
Yes.
With week in, week out, there are revelations that are coming out of the whole case, and not just that. The fact that there's still to be more. I believe there's still to be more departments of various government departments that are going to be uncovered in terms of the level of corruption that is organized crime. Now, I think various departments of government need to actually undergo an exercise whereby there's commissions to just uncover how deep is government entrenched in these various networks. And also, I think it needs to be looked at, because this was said that there is cartels or syndicates. Cartels are not limited just to locally. It needs to be looked at deeper as to what cartels have links to corruption to our government departments that are outside of our borders, out of our country, because as a country we are far behind when it comes to cyber security, technology, and all of those things. So I think government needs to relook at that. And it would be nice if you would get somebody who's a security expert on the show to just maybe try to break down that for us.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you for that. That's Parks out in Cape Town, and just stretching it as if we are not challenged enough, just saying also weigh in and factor in the transnational nature of some of these cartels, and also add to that mix cybersecurity, just to add another layer, a couple of layers actually of complexity is what they are calling for there, for all of us to not lose sight and think that these cartels are only local and operate within limited spaces, but they can be transnational, including newer crimes such as cyber crimes. All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your robust engagement as always. Kathy Motlatlana and the team at The Talking Point standing by to take you through after the 9 o'clock news with Ann Musa. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane, and you've been briefed.
In our top stories, Mkhunu back before Parliament's ad hoc committee and UN court to rule on Israel's obligations to ensure humanitarian aid. Good morning. Police Minister, who has been placed on special leave since Mkhunu, is back before Parliament's ad hoc committee today. The committee is looking into allegations of criminal infiltration, corruption and political interference in the criminal justice system made by the KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. Mkhunu has spent 3 days before the committee, during which he defended his decision to disband the political killing stars team and denied having any links to Brown Mukhotsi and Vuzimuzi Kat Matlala, who are alleged to be of dubious character. Last night, he shared his thoughts on factionalism in the SAPS during questions from the IFP MP Albert Mngango.
The minister should not come across as leading a faction within the police service. The minister would actually need to work very hard to be seen to be above all these quarrels and activities.
I agree with you entirely, Honourable Member.
A witness known only as Witness B will take to the stand at the Matlanga Commission of Inquiry this morning. The commission is probing allegations of criminality, corruption and political interference in the criminal justice system. The witness is expected to validate Witness A's evidence. Witness A informed the Commission how Witness B will testify about how they both came to know that alleged cartel member and murder accused Katiso Katie Molefe would receive bail. Molefe has been charged of various murders, including that of the Vereniging engineer Armin Swart, who has been at the center of his testimony. Sibahle Mota reports.
Witness A claims that Katiso Katie Molefe, who has been implicated in the Swart murder, paid a staggering 2.5 million rands to secure his release on bail. Witness A further alleges that he and Witness B were informed that Molefe would be released on bail before he even made his court appearance. Earlier this week, Witness A also testified how Warrant Officer Bule Dau, who has also been charged alongside Molefe and others on Swart's murder, was also granted bail. He told the commission that he was informed of Dau's release by Evusi Ndlala.
2 anti-gang unit members have been wounded in a shooting in Lavender Hill on the Cape Flats. Police spokesperson Wesley Twig says the officers were responding to an incident when the community attacked them. He says no arrests have been made.
Steenberg Police registered attempted murder, attack on police and reckless and negligent driving cases for investigation, in which a police captain and a sergeant attached to the anti-gang unit were shot and wounded. According to reports, the members were chasing a vehicle and was stopped in Murby Road, Lavendale, where the members came under attack by the community. The injured members were taken to a medical facility for treatment. The circumstances surrounding the incident are an investigation and arrests are yet to be made.
The grandmother of 2 of the 5 teenagers currently hospitalized following a fatal mass shooting incident in Westbury in Johannesburg says she's still struggling to come to terms with the tragic incident which happened at a home. Maureen Davies was reacting to the shooting that claimed the lives of 2 teenagers and left 5 others injured yesterday. National Police Commissioner General Fani Masimula is in the area this morning. Davis says incidents of this nature are frequent in the area of Westbury.
I was on my way to school yesterday afternoon around 1 o'clock to fetch my granddaughter. Well, on my way back home, I just heard gunshots went off. Other woman screamed at me. She said, Auntie Maureen, run home because they are shooting at your house. When I arrived at my place, I saw all the boys lying on the stoop. All of them were shot. It was so disgusting. It was so traumatizing. I didn't know what to do. I had to stop the cars in the street to assist us to take the children to the hospital.
And finally, the International Court of Justice is set to deliver a landmark opinion examining Israel's legal obligations towards UN agencies operating in the occupied Palestinian territories. Responding to a request from the General Assembly, the court will consider whether Israel's ban of the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees breaches conventions. Shawan Bryce Peace reports.
The General Assembly's move requesting an ICJ opinion came in response to Israel's decision to ban the operations of UNRWA from within its territory since late January this year and other obstacles faced by other UN agencies in their aid work in Gaza. International humanitarian law requires an occupying power to agree to relief programs for those in need and to facilitate them by all means at its disposal. Israel's law did not stop UNRWA operations in the West Bank and Gaza, but by banning its operations within Israel, it affected its ability to work in the occupied Palestinian territory. ICJ advisory opinions are not legally binding, but provide clarity on legal questions and disputes.
Recapping the top story, Police Minister Senzo Mchunu has been placed on special leave. He is back before Parliament's ad hoc committee today. For SFM News, I am N. Musa.
Gordon Ramsay is back, and your favorite kitchen disasters are still somehow in business. New season, same confused chefs, terrifying walk-ins, and enough grease to fry your Wi-Fi. Watch as Gordon tries to fix the unfixable with nothing but sheer rage, British sarcasm, and an iron stomach. Kitchen Nightmares Season 8, Wednesdays at 6 p.m. on S3. Come for the food, stay for the emotional damage.
Tune in to The Talking Point with KG Mwekezi on Thursday, the 23rd of October 2025 for an in-depth conversation with Francesca Albanese, the UN Special Rapporteur on the occupied Palestinian territories. Francesca will be delivering the 23rd Nelson Mandela Annual Lecture on Saturday, the 25th of October at the Sandton Convention Center. Tickets are officially sold out, but 5 lucky listeners can win double tickets during the show. Tune in for your chance to be part of an important dialogue on enhancing peace and global cooperation. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Gender-based violence is destroying lives and tearing communities apart. It happens in homes, in schools, at workplaces, and too often in silence. But it doesn't have to continue. If you see it, speak out. If you are hurting, reach out. Because doing nothing is not an option. Listen to all 19 SABC radio stations for hard talk, discussions, advice, dramas, educational shows, and interviews around GBV with experts, survivors, lawmakers, and a whole country affected by gender-based violence. All on your favorite SABC radio station. Call 0800 428 428 to report abuse or get help. GBV, it ends with you. This message is brought to you by the SABC.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable. You receive up to 745,000 Rand worth of legal services per year. Our range of plans include cover for you, your spouse, children, and extended family. Plans include cover for civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Whether it's protection orders, gender-based violence, uncontested divorce, or poor service, your Clientele Legal lawyer will be there to assist you. Our services are convenient. Simply pick up the phone and call your lawyer or send us an email and we'll get back to you. All plans include a bail benefit of up to 5,000 Rand and we'll go to the police station and pay it for you. Plus, Clientele Legal offers you 24-hour telephonic legal advice. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
This summer, the continent unites for the biggest football showdown in Africa. The Total Energies Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2025 is coming to your screens, live and available on SABC TV channels, SABC Sport, SABC Plus, and across your favorite SABC radio stations. Catch all 52 thrilling matches, stand behind Bafana and experience every goal, every cheer, and every victory from 21 December 2025 to 18 January 2026. SABC Sport brings you all the AFCON 2025 action, live and free, because it's game on everywhere.
For the love of the game.
Extraordinary is built on innovation, and Vodacom Business is leading the way. Cloud that scales with your business. Security that earns trust. AI for smarter, faster decisions. IoT that connects systems and people. And connectivity that bridges every gap. With these technologies working together, Vodacom Business is helping to build a better connected, future-ready South Africa. Visit vodacombusiness.co.za. Together, let's build the extraordinary. Vodacom Business, further together.
The Talking Point on SAFM. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
More often than not, it has been stated that leadership is based on inspiration, not domination, on cooperation, not intimidation. This provokes the question, is transformation in Africa a question of leadership? Because you see, leadership cannot be selfish, naive, opportunistic, or visionless. It ought to be grandeur, tenacity, fidelity, gallantry, and an array of so much more. Our continent needs leaders who are willing and able to allow its innumerable resources to become of value to its people. I could relentlessly pursue the topic of failure of African leadership. Which one do you want guarding your country? The lion or the cat? The dog or the little poodle that we see right there? Because you see, African leaders do 9 things wrong and 1 thing right and use that one good thing to defend the 9 things wrong. Please do not misunderstand my perspective of leadership and limit it to the basic concept of esteemed presidents and governors. Leaders are the teachers, the doctors, the lawyers, the accountants, the civil service, and the people who've been trained to guard our society. And even as a common civilian stand in Vala to shepherd the flock, the political spectrum of leadership still carries eminent influence in society.
That is Ruth Nyanga. Ruth Nyanga is a student at Rusinga schools in Kenya. I wish I could have heard the crux of what she was saying, but I think that she was talking, of course, about leadership. With that, welcome to the Talking Point. It's Wednesday, the 22nd of October. We are SFM leading the conversations that move us. My name is Khomotso KG Mweketsi. Whenever I'm here, Kathy is not here. Our studio number is 086 0002032. The SMS line 41391. That SMS, though, comes to you at around 50 on WhatsApp 06141041007. On X, we are at SFM Radio. Please hashtag SFM Talking Point when you talk to us. We are coming to you live from the Kruger National Park, where ministers of education and officials in the sector from different parts of the world are gathered for the 4th G20 Education Working Group. The sub-theme they are focusing on is educational professionals for solidarity, equality, and sustainability. And we therefore apologize because there definitely will be disruptions that will affect the open line, as we'll be speaking to two ministers of education within the hour to also make time for, and also will make time in the broadcast for the Madlanga. The Madlanga Commission and Parliament's, that's what I wanted to giggle at, Parliament's ad hoc committee, where the suspended police minister Senzo Mchunu is answering questions from MPs, and my giggle should tell you everything about what I feel about that. We need no language there. And so remember, when we stay with G20, it was Nelson Mandela who said that education is the most powerful weapon which can be used to change the world. So let's use this opportunity to understand what we can expect to come out of this gathering and where it fits into the bigger G20, which we are hosting as of next month. So it will be Ministers Buti Manamela, Minister of Higher Education and Training, and later on Siviwe Gwahube, Minister of Basic Education, that we'll talk to. The ministers, we are waiting on them to arrive. In the meantime, we'll go to the open line for any calls that are available to talk to you about those two situations. That's the Madlanga Commission on the one hand, and the ad hoc committee meeting where suspended police minister Senzo Mchunu is answering questions from MPs. I'm sure you've got a lot to say about that. In fact, I've heard you say a lot already on Thulasizwe's show as we were making our way here this morning. So we'll come back with your calls while we wait for Buti Manamela to get here, because we're told it's him that we will speak first to. So 086 0002032. We'll go to break and then come back with some calls. 086 0002032 and some WhatsApps on 061 410 4107. Happy Wednesday.
Clientele is here to safeguard you and your family with compassion, because life happens. Be part of a family that truly cares. Our funeral dignity plans have helped South Africans bury their loved ones with dignity for more than 30 years. Let us help you create a meaningful tribute that honors your life and those of your loved ones. We pay out within 24 hours and you will get double accident cover with a clientele funeral plan. Our plans are affordable. Pick the option that suits your needs. Easy to apply, no medical examinations and no paperwork. SMS SAFM to 48031. That's 48031. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Let me get this right, Ron. You're a plumber by day and Pretoria's smoothest wedding DJ by night.
Yeah, it started out as a passion and now I've got bookings until December. And a smoke machine that needs its own seatbelt.
And you sold your car to buy a van through We Buy Cars.
Brew, it was music to my ears. Zero admin, no long queues. They pulled in, checked it out, and before I knew it, I had cash in the bank.
Now that's a banger. We Buy Cars. Geared for your passion, geared for you.
Gender-based violence is destroying lives and tearing communities apart. It happens in homes, in schools, at workplaces, and too often in silence. But it doesn't have to continue. If you see it, speak out. If you are hurting, reach out. Because doing nothing is not an option. Listen to all 19 SABC radio stations for hard talk, discussions, advice, dramas, educational shows, and interviews around GBV with experts, survivors, lawmakers, and a whole country affected by gender-based violence. All on your favorite SABC radio station. Call 0800 428 428 to report abuse or get help. GBV, it ends with you. This message is brought to you by the SABC. SAFM's award-winning drama department presents to you the radio drama series Skyline.
Press that to cockpit medical emergency now.
Cabin crew to your stations.
Where the skies promise adventure, but behind the cabin doors, untold secrets are found.
He's signing off on cheap parts they installed like it's nothing.
Catch the radio drama series every Saturday at 9 p.m. on SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. You are listening to KG Mwekezi on SAFM.